These holes are terrible. These ones are losing you games, and every single time you're picking castle, you're probably throwing the round down the drain. Because it's not just about copying the best setups, it's about understanding why they work and how to play them properly so that you can always gain an advantage on your opponents. And that's exactly what I'll be teaching you today, so that not only you win more defenses, but you also understand them from an attacker's perspective and win more on attack as well. All the maps are timestamped below if you want to skip ahead, but we're starting off with Oregon. Alright, first up we got the top floor of Oregon. A classic map, a classic site. We're going to do all of Oregon, and we'll have it all timestamped, so if you want to skip ahead, go ahead. We're going to start off with the white rotate, which you can do on the right side or the left side. It is up to you. The only thing I recommend is if you do on the right side, also make like a head hole here so that you're able to actually peek this trophy door with the cover of the door frame. So this is really nice because it also gives you cover from big window if you do rotate through, so you can kind of play in generator a little bit safer, and you can even use this head hole against that window. The big thing to remember is how does this affect your team and how does it affect the other team, right? So once the other team gets the space here, they can actually push through this rotate. So a lot of people do just head holes. The problem with that is if you only have the head holes, it's really hard to retake and fight this breach because you're pushing from either attic or kids, in which case they have this cross from this trophy door. So when we think about our setup and what it actually does for us, we have to constantly be thinking about what it does for the other team as well. Now, we're going to make some footholes here. This is for the big window hop in. It creates a one-way angle when they hop in the big window, so you can just basically spray them through the wall if they jump in here. It's a very safe position in kids to hold, right? We're not exposed to anything, so really, really good footholes. You can make a rotate here, but again, they can also use it from big window. This is something I might do later in the round, so if they aren't going big window and it's clearly a full trophy take, you can make this rotate later in the round, just so you're able to actually get in and out of kids a little safer, cross back to white without having to walk right across this kid's doorway and expose yourself to all these deep angles. Now you're definitely going to want to rotate into attic. This is probably the most important piece of the setup outside of that white rotate. This just lets you get in and out of attic to actually hold it as well, and you're doing it on this left side, so that way if they drop this attic, you're not exposed. So if you make it on the right side, you can see that they can actually just hold this from attic and lock you into kids and get these really deep angles, but if you have it on the left side, you're good to go. Now a lot of people will tell you to make head holes here. A lot of people will do it and then reinforce this right wall. There is an upside and downside to this. You should only do this if you're holding armory, because otherwise the attackers can just come up and use these holes against you. They can get all the way deep in armory, hold that kid's rotate. They can even open it from here. So if you're on attack and you see these head holes, you can actually abuse the other team by going into armory and just locking them on this rotate. So if anyone tries to come through this rotate, you're basically getting a free kill. So these head holes actually help the attackers a lot more than it helps the defenders, and they can even pick off people in attic, get a crossfire in attic if they take attic as well. So reinforce this almost all the time unless you have like a castle or, you know, a mute hold going on in armory, which is a very strong hold, because if you're doing that, you can kind of open this wall. You can reinforce off this single wall. You can waste time here, shoot drones. You can cover yourself from the armory repel, and you can also hold the master walk in. You want some barbed wire or trap or something on the stairs so they're not just walking up for free on you, so you have the info that they're there. The other thing about this is if you're an attacker coming into master, these holes aren't open. It makes it a lot easier to walk in because now you just have to watch the only threat, which is this doorway. So you can flash this and walk in or whatever. But now if you're walking in with these head holes, now you have to worry about multiple different things you're exposed to, and maybe even a guy in a closet on a mute jammer, right? Those head holes are good even if you're not playing there because it kind of scares them back a bit. The only downside is if they take main stairs, they can hold this trophy door from main stairs, so you got to be aware of that too. So everything you do in every part of your setup does affect, you know, the rest of the game. You're going to want to open this attic hatch. This is good for 2 reasons, and then you just reinforce off these walls. Unless you're extending out, you can technically extend out and hold tower, which I do have some of those videos on my games channel where I do that with a Rooney. It's a super good hold, but you want to do it right, so I would just recommend reinforcing off. The reason we open this hatch is because, for one, your roamers can play in meeting and actually hold this attic push-up now, so if the attackers are coming through here, they're exposing themselves to all these angles in meeting. But the other reason is if you put some barbed wire here, this is obviously not barbed wire, but some mute jammer, barbed wire, thorn trap, whatever. If you're a defender playing in attic, that will signal to you that they're there. If the hatch is closed, they can walk around the barbed wire, but this way they have to push through the barbed wire, so when they go to punch it, you can just pre-fire the back of it or whatever. You might want to break this pipe first, because as you can see, once I break this pipe, it's going to actually destroy the barbed wire or the mute jammer, so you want to make sure you break that before you place your barbed wire down. The only other thing you want to do on the site is shoot this glass on these windows. Oh, and of course you want to reinforce these 2 main walls, reinforce these 2, so don't make these holes. This is bad. And then yeah, you're pretty much good to go. You could technically reinforce this wall. Some people do that, but the only problem is if they get across these footholes with a smoke grenade or something, this is a really good plant spot because they're not exposed to top white. So you gotta keep that in mind. And then lastly, you want some barbed wire, some sort of info for here, so they're not getting up and getting these powerful crossfires into sight. A lot of people just put the Rooney gate here, put the frost mat here. It's not good. The shield, because then they can peek off it and they can hold this entire cross to the site. So you want to actively contest top white by playing off the traps and off the barbed wire here. Knowing why we're doing the things we're doing is going to help us play a whole lot better. Let's go to basement, figure out how to play that. Next, we got the basement, and there's a couple big things you want to do on basement. Firstly, connect the bomb sites. You want to do this on basically every site. If you don't connect the bomb sites, you only have one route back to the site, which means the attackers can just sit here, and now you can't get back to the site, and they can just plant the bomb literally wherever they want. So connecting the bomb site is very, very important. You can even move this all the way to the edge, which again lets you get these tighter angles on the actual door frames compared to like something like this where you got the debris and stuff. I always like making like a little head angle like this if I do want to just be able to hold a nicer angle so I'm not getting my chest seen and shot through the wall. The next thing you want to do is make some head holes on this side and then place a reinforcement here. This is a good spot for a mirror window as well. It lets you just peek onto main, but the main thing about this is, you know, you can do punch holes like this. You can peek main. It just adds another point of pressure for main stairs that stops them from walking in, because if this is all reinforced, like we said, they can just walk in and fight this doorway. If you have the head holes, there could be a guy here, there could be a guy here. They could rotate in and out. And then the last thing you want to do to add even more pressure to this front side to stop them from walking in is make these freezer head holes. Now, if you reinforce both these walls, you're making a huge mistake. It only happens in the lower ranks. You still want to reinforce this one, or you can do holes all the way across. Some people like that too. Basically, you want to hold freezer. It lets you hold main. It lets you stop this choke point on freezer here, or you can even extend all the way up and play this choke point on the freezer stairs since there's no vertical that they can get on you. Outside the hatch, which you want to make sure you reinforce too. I mean, ideally, you have all the reinforcements where they need to be, but a lot of people don't know them and you don't have time to do all 10, so keep that in mind. So that's your front side setup. Then you want to extend out here into bunker. This is called elbow. You'll have a shield here maybe, mute jammers, traps, whatever. This is a choke point for the attackers. They basically have to feed in through this doorway to even get into the map. We want to add more pressure. How do we do that? Well, just like the front side, we make these head holes. So now when they're walking in, they have to worry about this swing, and somebody here. So now they're kind of in this box where there's a bunch of crossfires on them. There's a bunch of crossfires. They can't look the right way all the time, right? So then you can play here with a shotgun or something super, super strong. You want to make sure you reinforce this other wall. Same with the elbow wall. The nice thing about this is if you have this reinforced, you usually have one left over, and you can actually reinforce this off once they start taking it. Like, let's say they break all your utility. You know they're coming. There's nothing you can do to stop them. You can just reinforce these two off and give it up. The downside of that is then they can focus this area without having to worry about their flank, so that's something to keep in mind. You can also do like head holes across here. This adds even another spot to peek bunker on. Sorry, there's a car going crazy right now. So you have another spot to peek bunk from here. Adding even more pressure is a great spot to play just to establish these crossfires. But then you have to worry about back stairs. Okay, a Melusi here or a thorn trap here or some barbed wire here basically just puts them in the middle of the open while they're hitting this trap. And then you can peek from E-box door, this hallway. More importantly, you make some head holes here at the top of this wall. And now you can hold the back tower stairs from here as well, which is a really strong angle. You know, you got a ton of cover. They're going to be completely exposed, especially once they're hitting that barbed wire, which is why putting it down on the stairs is really good. You don't want them to get here and just kind of hold these angles onto you without knowing they're here. So some barbed wire or something here is also really good. Now make sure you reinforce the meeting hatch. You can also reinforce these two walls. A lot of people do that for if they go for the hatch. So if you know you're playing a team that goes for the hatches a lot, if you reinforce both of these, now they can't shoot down on you from this hatch. So you're in a much safer spot. But again, if you reinforce just this one, then you can kind of still play off these head holes and you're okay. Plus you can also swing this E-box if they drop. So I like the head holes personally, but you can't always reinforce that as well. The other option you can do is make holes like this, which actually allow you to hold the back tower stairs again from a new angle. So you're basically just making a bunch of angles to dominate all the different areas. But if you set it up this way, they only have 1, 2, 3 freezer and 4 the front side areas that they can actually come through. The last thing is also you want to get this hatch. And if they only have 4 places they can come from and you have 5 people on defense, you can actively hold every single direction in all these really strong choke points, stacking your utility on it. It's why this is one of the most bunker heavy sites in the game. So that's the setup for it. Take it or leave it. And the other thing too is like you might have to change these setups based on the ranks you're in, you know, because a lot of ranks are playing bad, so you don't want to give them more help than you need to, because again, if you open this up and make all these holds but nobody's playing here, they can just walk in and all of a sudden they're in the bomb site without having to do any work. So it's important that you play these positions and you're playing into your setup rather than just doing the setup because you saw some guy on YouTube tell you that it's good. Our third site for Oregon is going to be meeting and kitchen, which some people go kitchen dining. I mean, both are fine. It just really depends on how you want to play it. But either way, for both of these, most of the time people just run around shooting people. So your site setup doesn't matter that much. And there's also so many different ways that, you know, you shouldn't worry about it too much. If you're going to worry about anything, it's this. Make a rotate hole. If you don't have a rotate hole, life is going to be bad. And the other thing is you want to do on this side, because otherwise they're locking you down from split. So reinforce this if you really want. You don't have to, but just make a rotate here. Reinforce your 2 walls so they're not just like like walking in on you. This is a great spot for a castle or some barbed wire just so you have info on it. Then you can reinforce your 2 stage walls. You can reinforce your hatch, or you can actually go up and play it. Going up and play it is better in the higher ranks. In most ranks though, you can probably just reinforce it. And then you can also castle this door, castle this window. Castle's really good on this site. And then, you know, your dining walls reinforce usually. The security is the part where people make a lot of mistakes. This is really good because you can open this. I'm going to show you the kids setup just because that's a good one. But what you want to do is make a rotate into security. You actually do want to extend out and hold this space. The only problem is if your team doesn't hold space properly, you can't hold everything. So this could actually be a gap that the attackers hit if it's available for them. You can do some head holes here even, or even another rotate like on this wall. But again, it can help the other teams, so you just have to be wary of it. This is really good if you have like a castle barricade here, and then you combo it with your players upstairs to contest all of this space. And you have to be worried about Z, so I like putting some barbed wire or something here. And then you can basically just have a guy playing in this area, maybe some barbed wire on the stairs here, and then you can safely kind of hold this hallway, hold the push, go up and support your teammates on top white and your teammates up top. Reinforcing this is really good for this site because this just allows you to play top white safer without being worried about the trophy side, and they have to kind of funnel into you here. But if you're going to play upstairs, which, you know, is very strong, the only thing you're going to really want to do is hold this hatch so that you stop them from planting default. You can extend out and go play attic like we talked about, but then you have to worry about a lot of different more routes, so you could just reinforce these off. You could even reinforce these off and put some barbed wire here or something, but you can also open it up, so if they try to hop in big window, you can again use what you did on the top floor and just kind of stop them from here. So you have a lot of power up here. You can even do a vertical for this. You can also make vertical holes for green door. It's getting a little complex, but the site is not the easiest, which again is why a lot of the time it's just like, okay, let's just run around and get some kills and make one rotate hole. Simplifying is usually better in a situation like this. Next in line, we have Clubhouse. We're starting on basement because I believe basement is the best site on this map. Yet everyone goes gym first, which I guess is fine, but basement is really the ultimate bunker site, and I really like it. So first thing we're going to want to do is extend out into blue. The problem is if they get blue control, they can open these walls and really pressure the site a lot. So we actually want to hold this space instead. So by doing these 2 rotates, you can, 1, quickly rotate in and out of blue. Say you're getting grenaded, you can back up and then retake the space very easily. But 2, you can also support both sites really fast. So you can rotate into B site from here compared to only being able to go through the hallway. And again, if we only have one way to get to the other site, they can just cut off that direction, and now we're completely screwed because they can just plant the bomb. So it's important to connect the bomb sites, and this is how we do it through blue using these rotates. The other thing I really like doing on blue stairs is doing these footholds. This is good for 2 reasons. Firstly, if they push up from oil pit side, you can shoot them through the wall, obviously, like from Moto here in church. You can go prone here and actually watch the push down secret. You gotta be careful. A lot of people pick up on this nowadays, and they actually check for this, so just be careful of that, but it is a really, really solid angle. It's gonna be really good in the lower ranks. This is a wall you want to reinforce, whether you have mirror or not, and same with this one on generator. So this gives you cover, which if they are doing a church side take, you can actually pop the walls open around the reinforcement, and you're able to actually, you know, peek these holes off this, have a lot more cover than they are because they're completely in the open. Throw C4s, stuff like that. Very, very nice. This B site's looking weird. I don't know. This whole wall close is a problem. We're gonna make a rotate right here. A lot of people actually reinforce this wall, which I think is a big mistake. This can be good in Pro League, but don't do it in ranked, because the thing about reinforcing that wall is it stops you from holding the drop, and you want to hold the drop. You want to hold the drop so they can't plant. The thing about this site that makes it super good on attack is if you drop this kitchen hatch, this is one of the best plant spots in the game. You just have to clear out this back armory area first, which you can do with like a buck or a ram or a sledge by opening up the floor. So this is all soft, so you can clear that out really easily, and then you can plant in this super, super safe position with people covering you from the hatch. So reinforce the hatch, but then stop them from dropping by opening these holes. If you reinforce this off, every time I see that on attack, I'm like, okay, free plant, and then I go for a plant, and it usually works. The other thing we can do is open up footholes here. This is great for anybody that's trying to walk up this main hall and basically take this space, you know, push aggressively here. We can see them from back armory now. The other thing we can do is we can actually see the moto drop from here. So if they don't clear out back armory is one of the best positions on the site. If people don't clear it, you should play it. You can hold moto, the main walk, the short push. You can also hold dirt from here. You can hold the drop from here. They can't get angles on you from the drop. You can see here because it's the wall of kitchen. Reinforce this hatch, by the way. Don't open that up. And then, so yeah, this is a really good spot. You can also hold blue. Back armory is the strongest position on the site, which is why it's so important to open it when you're attacking it. So yeah, we reinforce these walls. We reinforce that, reinforce the hatch. Great spot for some barbed wire is just breaking this pipe and placing it here. here. That way when they're walking up, they're kind of slowed. They're in the middle of the open. That's when you swing off the generator in cover and have a really big advantage. Another spot for barbed wire is here. You know, you can break this pipe, or you can put a thorn trap right here. This pipe plus this thorn trap and some barbed wire right here is just almost an insta-kill every single time. This is another site like the basement of Oregon where you're going to want to bunker pretty heavily. Having a lot of roamers just basically makes a lot of gaps a lot of the time, unless you're like a pro league team. So anyway, we make some head holes here. We reinforce both these walls. So this makes our church position safe. So we can actually hold blue from here as well, right, through our rotate. But you can also hold main stairs from here to get aggressive if they're peeking main stairs. So we reinforce the moto hatch, which allows you to play in moto safely. And you have these reinforced, and now you have multiple angles to hold main from, which are very, very strong. The other thing you can do is kind of extend up here, play a shotgun on the staircase. And the only way to really clear you out is by opening the floor above you. So if you have someone playing here, you can actually open this floor and clear them out, and they kind of just have to leave at that point. But this is another really good spot for a thorn trap on this pipe with some barbed wire here. They basically come down, they go to hit the barbed wire, they're stuck in the melee animation when the thorn trap goes off, and then they have to run and the pipe kills them, and it's just beautiful. So that's a great play. Thorn is super, super powerful on this map. And yeah, the last thing we want to do is just reinforce off dirt. You don't really want to barricade this. A lot of people make this mistake of barricading this. The problem with barricading that is this just signals to the attackers this whole thing is clear and we can take it without anybody walking in on us. Then you can set a drone underneath the barricade, wait for somebody to mess up, like stand in the middle of the open blue, and they don't know you're here because the barricade masks the sound. Then they can just pop the barricade and mow you down. So I don't recommend barricading that, but if you want the info, put some barbed wire, put some, you know, traps, gadgets, whatever in here so you know that someone's pushing there. But you really want to force them to walk out of this door because that's when they're exposed to literally like a million different angles, which is really good for us because they're less likely to actually pick the angle we're holding, especially if they don't drone it ahead of time. So that's the basement setup. It's super, super good. Basically, back armory is really strong, church is really strong, and blue is really strong. You want to hold on to those areas and just force the other team to actually push into the bomb site. Moving on to the next best site probably is gym bedroom. I think this and CC are actually equally strong, but I think, you know, the idea that this is the better site has been popularized lately. What we want to do on gym bedroom is firstly connect the bomb sites, guys. It's really that easy. This is the most straightforward thing. Connect the bomb sites means we have multiple routes to retake, contest, and hold it from. We don't want to give it up for free. Now, you probably want to reinforce this wall. This just stops them from getting some really strong angles. You see if they're outside this gym window and they open up this wall, they can basically just hold the entire bomb site. They basically cut it in half by opening up this wall. So this is a great wall to open up with Ace or Hibana, and then you can just hold angles, really strong angles. So that's why we want to reinforce this. But then on the rest of the walls, what we can do is make some footholds. If we make footholds all over here, this just stops them from actually walking in. This is a big mistake. If you don't make the footholds, you're probably trolling, because now when they push from jacuzzi side or hop in the window, they can't see us. They can't fight back against anything. They can crouch, but like if I'm in construction, I'm just beaming them through the wall before he even gets here, right? The other spot we can hold this really well with is behind this bed. This basically covers our feet while we can see theirs, and then we're just smoking this guy off this angle every single time. So opening up these footholds is very important. You can also open the hatch. That just kind of makes it more awkward if they're trying to go for these plant and work around this weight rack, so they're more likely to fall through. This is a pretty good plant spot, but there are ways to stop it. You're going to want to reinforce these outside walls. I mean, main breaches, hard breaching is super strong on these top floor sites, so reinforce it, make them pick the hard breachers along with this bathroom wall. This bathroom wall is going to be important because of a very simple reason. You want to be able to play here. This is one of the only safe spots to play on the site, is this bathroom area where you're not exposed to the windows. You're exposed to construction, but you're not exposed to the windows. If you make this vault rotate, then you can kind of play off this reinforcement. So now if they're trying to push in the breach, you have a shotgun, you have whatever SMG, you have defender guns that are better in the close range. And when they're trying to push in to actually take gym, now they have to worry about this guy first. So they actually have to swing onto you and take this guy out before they can go for gym. So this is a really good spot to play, something you definitely want to open, because if you see this wall is completely soft and closed, all right, I'll just go take gym. I'll go and plant. You know, you can get your drone in here, figure out where they are. You might be able to smoke it all off, and you know that they can't vault through here on you and actually stop you from planting, which is the reason we make this rotate here. And you might be thinking, okay, but why is it vaultable? Okay, well, why don't we think about this? What does the vaultable holes do for us? Firstly, it makes it so they can't just sprint in. If they just threw a flashbang from the breach, they could just sprint in and get right through this right away. But now they actually have to vault through, which takes a little more time, and it's a little more awkward to actually win that fight. So it stops the attackers from just running through this rotate, so you know that they kind of have to stick their face in it, and they kind of have to fight you like this before they can get through. The only difference is we have to vault through it as well, which is fine, because when we're vaulting through, we're just trying to rotate. We're vaulting through if they're doing like a CC side take. So vaulting through isn't a problem for us, where it is a problem for the attackers, which is why it's a win for us. If we do it crouch, you know, yeah, we can get through it sneakily, but it's not going to do a whole lot. The other thing I like to do is I actually do like to make this a full rotate if they don't get jacuzzi wall in the first like 2 minutes of the round, and I know it's 100% a con side take, because now I can use this rotate to quickly get back and forth, keep them guessing where I am, and use this to my advantage. So that's a play you can make kind of later in the round, which is nice. Next up, very important, is this logi rotate. A lot of people make on the left, a lot of people make on the right, a lot of people reinforce these. Absolutely garbage. Never reinforce these. You want to extend your site hold into logistics, because this logi hatch is a very big choke point for the attackers. You don't want to open it, but once they do, they basically have to drop to actually get in here. So you can just play off the drop and swing off the drop sound. The other thing is, while they're dropping, they can't ADS. So if you're playing something like this and they just decide to jump in from like this side, then you can just beam them when they drop. So you want to hold logistics. The other thing about this is you can hold this main push if they open the breach. So having this control is really important, because you have crossfire on main and you're holding this choke point. But the other reason you want to do it is because this con wall is also going to be really good for you, because you can stop them from taking construction. If you reinforce this off, they can just push all the way up, and now they're all the way on the site door with basically no contention really early on. But this makes them have to constantly worry about the flank, somebody swinging here. So if they're sitting in here, they can't just safely like drone outside of right here. You know, they have to worry about a lot more if this is open. You want to reinforce this wall. Some people switch these two around. If you ever see this reinforcement on this wall, you can actually thermite the far right of this from outside, and it'll blow into this and make a rotate for you that you can sprint through. Same reason here. We want them to vault through if they're going to take logi, because it makes it easier for us to defend, and we can also kind of swing off the vault sound, whereas we don't really need to vault through this and retake this very often. You can stop your hold there. You can reinforce this off, but what a lot of people will do is make these head holes. I'm running out of ammo, but that's fine. They'll make these head holes, they'll extend out, and they'll reinforce these CC walls, which will just basically let you swing these windows. If they don't come and get these CC walls, and you know, you barricade this off, or you hold red, or you go hold it into rafters, now you can actually fight them on these windows. If you know they're on the windows, it makes it a lot scarier for them to actually play it. The other thing you can do is you can hold all of the site windows from here if they are going for that direct site window. So that rotate also helping us out again. So you're kind of extending out across this whole top floor. You can put some barbed wire for the logi drop or a thorn trap or whatever. Same thing for main stairs. You want to put some barbed wire or traps here, which just allows you to kind of play main stairs, fight people off it, and then also contest this main breach or just hold the hallway. So you're just setting up your traps around, you're extending out, you're holding the space really, really effectively. But if you're not going to play into the setup, don't do the setup, right? You need to play into it. If you don't have anyone playing over there, there's no reason to make these head holes. This will just help them create a line of sight into sight. So reinforce it off, make them open it, make them work for the space of the map. Lastly, we are going to talk about this CC setup, because this is also a very primary site. This map doesn't really have a tertiary site outside of bar, so these three sites are kind of interchangeable in which ones you play, so play them all because they're all really good. First thing you want to do is reinforce these walls. Now, I do like opening them, so if you open them before you reinforce them, you can hear better for if you have a bandit or arcade. If you don't have bandit or arcade, you can just reinforce it off, but you open them and then you can reinforce it. You know, it's not the end of the world if you don't. You want to do head holes and rafters, not a vault, even though I just accidentally made it a vault. Head holes, okay? And if it's a vault, it's not the end of the world, and you want to reinforce this. The problem is if you don't reinforce this, if you ever see this is not reinforced, you open the main breach and you shoot through this, now you can see all of rafters. Rafters is not safe from anywhere if all of this is open, right? But if this is reinforced, now you have a very safe position to play in rafters, which you do need to hold on this bomb site. You need to hold rafters because this is reinforced and it's blocking that breach, which allows you to just hold here, put some barbed wire on your stairs or whatever, contest these doorways. You have a lot of cover. You know, you got the high ground, so you got a big advantage there. And you're basically just fighting bottom garage. Now, a big mistake people will make is they'll reinforce these far con walls, those two, into logistics. Don't do that. You need all these walls for bottom garage. You don't want them to be able to get into bottom garage from here. If they open up these walls, taking rafters is a whole lot easier because now they can come in, they can kind of scan it like this, and they can also throw a bunch of utility from here very, very easily to clear you out. A Capital Fire, Grim Bees, you know, Yings, whatever, and then they have somebody walk up the staircase and absolutely clap your cheeks. So reinforce those, very, very important. And if they never get the main breach, you're actually able to come in, you know, hold angles like this and kind of get aggressive onto here, which is nice. You know, still you want to use this cover as best you can, especially if this door is closed and they're kind of going underneath. You can also, even if you really want to upgrade your game here in rafters, you can open up holes like this and you can actually hold these stock doors as well. So if you know nobody's coming garage, this is actually a very good spot to play to kind of pick some people off from underneath, a Deimos, a Buck, whatever. And then you can also use these head holes to hold the cache walk in, the server hop in, and also playing off this reinforcement, you can contest this main plant spot. So rafters is really the power position of this site. Super important you set it up right. right? But not the end of the world if you don't, you know? Reinforce this too. That's just going to stop them from just opening it up and getting a bunch of really strong angles into sight, right? And then don't reinforce these. That's the mistake, but you do want to reinforce this outer wall. You can give up con, you can barricade these doors, or you can extend out and play over there with like a mute, for example. Sit on a mute jammer, shotgun someone in the chest. Lastly is red stairs, which is very important. You do want to rotate here. You want to rotate into red. If you're in copper, stop reinforcing this. And then you want some barbed wire, some trap info for this. So a Melusi, a thorn, barbed wire, of course. Barbed wire is just the best. And then you're able to actually play this top staircase and swing off the barbed wire, but you can also fight anybody con side here. We want to make more pressure, more angles they have to worry about. That way, if they're walking into this site, now they can't just hold this rotate and walk in. They have to also worry about you peeking this side of the reinforcement. So they're kind of have to change up their angles, and they're completely exposed, whereas you have cover, and they're exposing themselves to this rafters angle. So all these holes are really good if you have the people playing the right positions. The other thing you can do is you can actually open up above here and hold the rafters stairs from here, so you can actually help your teammate in rafters. You can also C4 over for the default plant from here, which is nice. So if someone's planting default, you got a little C4 lineup. The other thing, if you want, you can do is you can even do another hole like this, which allows you to kind of hold the breach walk in from this other, you know, strange angle. And then you're kind of rotating in and out of red rafters and in and around the site. The problem is once they open this wall, you can't rotate across to rafters. So your main route of escape, if you are rafters or trying to retake rafters, is jumping over and coming back up through red stairs if you really have to give it up. And that's pretty much it. That's the setup for that. Next up, we got Chalet. We're on the top floor of Chalet. Let me guess, we reinforced this wall off the start. No, moron. This is one of the biggest mistakes we see on Chalet. Make a rotate on this wall. Stop listening to people on TikTok telling you to reinforce this. They're wrong, okay? You know how I know I'm right? Spoit said so, okay? Spoit agrees with me. What you can do is you make a rotate here, make some higher up head holes here, which is really nice, and this allows you to actually stand on the bed and hold the breach. So you can actually use these really strong angles off the bomb to hold breach. I mean, this is even better with like an ACOG and a Rooney or whatever. You can also do something like this, but you have to be concerned because they can also hold this from K9 walk-in. But the problem is if you reinforce this off, a guy here just sees that that's reinforced. You can just take this so much easier because you know they can't retake you from over here because you can hold the rotate, right? So you can actually just push in and you can actually end up just going for a plant in this spot, or you can just plant K9 door a whole lot easier. You know, anywhere over here is a lot easier for the attackers to take, which is why you want to make this a rotate. However, be aware they can technically hold angles from big window, which is a guy you kind of just want to deal with. You can run out trench, you can jump out trophy on him, you can also just smoke him off the window, C4 him. This is not the best, strongest angle. It's pretty easy to get aggressive close on it too and fight the guy from close. So if you're in master and you know he's there, you can just swing onto him and you're going to win that fight a lot more than you're going to lose it. So that's a way to deal with this guy, but you got to beware because they can, you know, they can hold these strong angles from piano and big window, which is when the aggression kind of needs to come out with deal with these guys. If they're holding something like this, I'm not ready for a guy to swing close, right? If I'm holding this rotate, the guy swings close crouch, I have to flick down to him, whereas he's already going to be looking at me and hold it and getting ready to take that fight. So this is the setup to do. You just have to be able to deal with these people when you have those problems. Next thing you want to do is make some head holes here, reinforce these two walls. These are your main walls here, and then reinforce this wall as well. This lets you play here and actually peek off this reinforcement. Again, you want to keep the walls open tight to the reinforcement so you can hold the tight angles off of them. So you can hold this pixel, you can even swing onto anybody who's pushing up blue. A Fenrir mine, like on one of these beams, is really good. So they hit this Fenrir mine, they're fully blind, and then you swing over here. You just touch them. Disgusting, gross. You can extend out top fireplace, and if you're going to, you reinforce this wall here. Make head holes across it, and this just allows you to slow down this big window take from library. Contest it here. You'd have to be aware they can walk up the stairs, they can hop in your window. Holding here is really good though, because you can also shoot the aces off the breach. See how safe I am? There's nothing I'm exposed to outside this window. You can just shoot the aces off the breach of their bonas if they're not actually clearing you ahead of time. So that's a really good way to extend. You know, you throw some barbed wire on your blue stairs, whatever, and then you're almost done. You're almost done. You still have to set up solar side. You want to rotate into here. Why? Because if you don't have a rotate here, you only have one way into the bomb site, which is the doorway. So, you know, we have another way into the bomb site, but if they open these walls, hope they can just lock this rotate right down, right? Okay, well, we better reinforce this. Why? Because if they're on that rappel, they're going to hold a huge, nasty angle, and people are going to run into it and die. So you reinforce this wall, and then you make some footholds on the other side. So now, if they try to take solar, you can actually shoot them through this wall. You do have to be worried about your door, but extending out into solar is a really good play too. Put some barbed wire here, a Melusi trap, whatever, and you can play this spot in owl, which allows you to, one, shotgun over the top, C4 over, hold the rappels in. So if they go for the rappel in, you kind of wait till they're rappelling in, then you swing and shotgun them. You can also stop them from taking bathrooms. So this is a power position on this site too. And if nobody clears you and they're going for the big window library take, you can actually make a rotate back in the master, and you can fight the big window player from here too. So you gotta be careful though. They can also hold this technically. And that's pretty much it. I mean, up to these walls, you can do footholds if you know you're worried about them walking through bathroom. You can do a rotate into here. The only downside is if you have a rotate here, now they can cut you from the bathroom window. They can also use this if they take bathroom. So it kind of, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend doing anything with these walls if I'm being honest. And that's the setup. You hold piano. You can hold the breach from piano. There is a downside to reinforcing this, which is you can't stop this default plant if they go for it. But I think it's worth reinforcing because it wastes more time earlier in the round, forcing them to not take this space than it does later in the round when you deny that plant. So it's actually, I think this is very beneficial for the defenders to have reinforced more so than anything. Because if they're going for this plant realistically and you're trying to stop it, and you're trying to stop from here, this guy Ivy is going to just swing onto you and kill you. If you're not able to do this and kill the guy because there's a guy here, you're probably not able to get away with this and kill the guy because there's still a guy here. So you have to fight this guy first regardless, and once you kill the guy, then you can stop the plant. But they can also hold you from the breach, so keep that in mind. Welcome to my grandma's basement. I'm your host, Poxonlox. I'm going to show you how to set this puppy up, all right? Rotate. Where do you want it? This side? This side? What do you think? Oh, let's do it this side, gamers. You know why you want it on this side? Well, I have a couple reasons. Firstly, if you make it on this side, they can actually hold a pixel from the blue stairs all the way to pillar and kill your pillar guy, which is kind of crazy. So keep that in mind that this is actually a possibility on your attacks if you see the rotates on this side. The other thing about this is you can peek closer on the reinforcement, which just allows you to, you know, throw C4s like this rather than being way back here. So you can stop plants easier. You can also just swing out and get close, rotate through here easier, which is nice. And you definitely want to reinforce these main walls. Again, you could do the shotgun tactic like we did on Clubhouse where you open it up and reinforce to make more sound. Realistically though, you know, if you're trying to bandit trick this drone hole is a big problem, so they're just gonna nade you through it anyway. I like reinforcing this wall because otherwise they can actually open it up and get a really nice angle. This is something you can do on your attacks actually, because a lot of people don't reinforce this. You can actually just make angles on the main stairs from here, and then you can even drop down and fight from here, which is nice. Now you want to make sure you get the hatches, of course. This one, the wine hatch. The wine hatch is really good because you can see all the way deep into pillar, which is really nice. A lot of people like to open this up and extend out and hold trench, which is okay, especially if you have a good warden player who knows what they're doing. They can hold this pretty effectively, but I like just wasting time off the top here, shooting a drone or two, and then you can quickly kind of back up and get back to site, which is pretty safe depending on if they've taken the space or not. That's something you can do, or you just drop a cap can there and get a one-shot kill with the pipe, which is also pretty fabulous. For our sake and my sake, I think 99.9% of the time it's better just reinforce all of these 6 walls. So these two, the main breach. Some people like to do this, which, you know, can work with the Azami. I think the problem is just, like, people aren't good. Like, people make so many mistakes, you might as well just let them make the mistakes and just reinforce it off. You don't need to overcomplicate it, because this adds risk, because now they can just ash this wall, they can Zofia, they can bucket, and now they have a new route into site that they can use against you. So I think just reinforcing both of these is the better option. And then the 2 hatches, so we're up to 8 reinforcements. That's it for shotgun setup, but you really just make the rotate. The other thing you can do is do head holes here. I also like these high holes. So head holes are good because you can fight wine from here, but you can also still contest the breach, throw C4s or whatever. Reinforce this though. Why? Because you're bad at the game and it's going to get your whole team killed, because they're going to open this main wall and hold down wine and shoot someone in the back of the head because they don't know how the setup works. So don't make these holes unless you're in a 5-stack and everyone knows what they're doing, which is really like, if you're at that point, you're not watching this video, so don't make these holes. We need barbed wire on main stairs. Boom, right there, so that you can play off main stairs and swing off of it, right? If you're playing main stairs and your barbed wire is here, they're going to see you and shoot you in the head before they react to this. This is a good spot. You can stop the breach. You can contest it. You have a lot of good angles, right? And then you can also hold the main push. But if your barbed wire is down here, not up here, they're just going to walk down and kill you before you get the chance to react. So put it up here and react to that info. And then the same for blue stairs. You want something for when they're walking down. So you have the barbed wire here. You know, when they punch it, they're in the middle of the open because they have to walk down and actually expose themselves to it. So you just kind of play off that info, play around it, and you're good to go. The other thing about these holes is this. You can hold the wine door from here. Really good with an ACOG scope. So Cade, TCSG, Aruni, and you can sometimes just get some little one taps on there. I wouldn't hold it for too long though, because the attacker weapons are better at range. So once they know you're here holding this, they're probably going to smoke you off of it. So maybe get a free kill, maybe not. Pillar's a good spot because you can hold the push here, and you can also, you know, stop the plant. A lot of people will break this barrel on attack and then tuck in and go for a plant, which is a great plant spot that you should be using on your attacks too. But yeah, Bandit, Cade, super good ups. Let's move on to the last site on Chalet we're going to talk about, which is Bar. Bing bong. Now, I just want to say, I actually think that kitchen dining is the best site on this map. Most people aren't going to play it, so you're going to need to know how to play bar, you know, the other 2 bomb sites, which is why I did those instead. First thing about bar is you want to reinforce this wall. It just gives you cover in stock to actually play somewhere safe, or if they get this control, so you have a reinforcement you can play off of and you can hold a lot of stuff off of it. And then same with this wall for if they try to take main stairs. A lot of people will try to maverick this wall, you know, they'll buck or ash it or just spray through it if you don't have it reinforced. So reinforce these two, make these holes. You can play safely on this pillar to contest the game top in. And then what I like to do is just make head holes all the way along this wall. Now, ideally, you have a reinforcement here, too. This is better, just so you have somewhere safe to play behind the bar. I know I don't be reinforcing this, but I'm going to right now. So now you have a safe spot to play behind bar, which is nice. And then you can do some... I'll rotate here, sorry. So now if you're in bar and you need to contest games, you actually push up, contest this window, stop a plant, whatever, rotate up blue. You can just move a lot quicker and a lot safer doing this, because running down this hallway is a bit of a death trap. They can have angles from lobby, angles from the top of the stairs. They could have a guy in here holding it down. They could have a guy dining, opening up this wall, and then locking down the hallway again, trapping you into bar. So making that rotate is super, super important. This is also why I like to reinforce this, so a guy can't do this, which is really nice. The other thing we want to do is put some footholds here. So if they do try to walk up this hallway from blue, from coat, we have some really strong angles, and we can actually just smoke this guy in coat from here. So this is the general site setup. You can reinforce this too. Again, if they're in dining, they open this wall, they just have really long angles all the way into bar, into stock, whatever. So reinforcing this is also really important. Here's the thing though, you want to extend out, you want to stop them from walking into lobbies. So like a bulletproof here, some trap info for here. There's so many different routes into site that traps are super, super strong on it. So having trap info for the coat hop in, the basement walk up, the dining walk, the front door, the other basement walk up. There's so many different routes that you want to cover. So a thorn, a lesion, a frost, all really good on the site. The other thing you want to do is hold above. You want to open this hatch. You want to hold this site. You want to do that same top fireplace setup we already talked about for the top floor site, where you reinforce the wall for the exact same reason. You can test the library hop-ins, support your player in library, and you can stop them from hopping in this double window, which is really nice. And then you're just kind of playing in here. The only thing about these head holes is it does open it up for the top fire guy. So if you're sitting in this hatch, you got to be careful. They could be holding you from this window, so keep that in mind. The other thing you can do is actually hold this from below. We're getting a little complicated now, but you can actually support your hop-ins from below too. But this is a complicated site. It's not easy. I like to reinforce this. Some people like to open it so that they can support bar from above. So if you're not cleared out at all above, you can actually hold basically the entire site from above, which is why it's so good to hold this site above. Now, you could do a reinforcement on this wall first. I like to reinforce this one because this is usually where you're going to be playing, and then you're not getting shot from big window. But some people will do head holes here and then reinforce this so that they can actually contest this ivy take as well, which is really good, especially if a guy way back here with more head holes in this wall. I mean, this is getting crazy complicated, but you can do it. I have faith. So you can hold all the way deep here onto the double door. Yeah, actually reinforce this wall because this is going to help this single window guy hold top blue. So reinforcing this is actually much better. So reinforce that. You can reinforce these two as well. If you reinforce these walls, or you can do footholds along them, then basically it just stops the other team from taking office and then holding these really strong angles onto blue, clearing all your utility from here. Footholds, you can shoot them, reinforce it, then they have to force into these long angles that we just talked about. And they're kind of in a bad spot, and then it's not a nice time. Frostmat on this window on any of the bomb sites goes really, really hard outside the basement. You know, you're going to land that one a lot because they hop in, they're worried about so many different things, and then they're hitting a frostmat. You can test basically every single entrance. A nice thing to do too is just barricade off this door so you know if they're sneaking up here or have a trap, or you have one guy play over there. Complicated site, but very effective if you can do it right, and also very bad if you do it wrong. So keep that in mind. Next in line is Kafe, a map where even in champion rank 90% of the time we got the wrong site setup. Actually, it's probably even higher than that. So pay attention because this one's important, and it's also one of the most effective site setups that you can do for all the sites on Kafe. So top floor, what do you want to do? Let's do a rotate right here, baby. Rotate reinforcement. This is arguably one of the most important parts of this setup. Not the most, but one of the top two, okay? I'm gonna tell you that one in a second. Sorry, I don't like the vault hold. People do the vault hold. This is the default. What I like to do is just the crouch hole. Don't do the top part. Just do a crouch hole that you can basically crouch up through. This will allow you to crouch up to this bar, which is a really good spot to play later in the round because you can take all these fights onto shop where they're completely exposed and you have a lot of cover. The other thing you can do on this, if you want to get kind of nuts, is you can open up the bar here. Actually, they may have patched this. This is an old one. Oh, I guess you can do it through this side. But yeah, you can basically hold shop if you do it right. I mean, this is not doing it right, but you can hold shop from here if you open that up too, which is kind of nice. It used to be where you could do it through the side and do it right from here, so they wouldn't even see the hole. But now they'll see the hole, so I don't know if it's worth or not. But, you know, that's an option, just to add another angle onto them. It's nice if you open up this bar with an impact or something, or you can even put a Goyo on this side, because if they go for a plant here, which is a really safe, really strong plant, you can see them through the bar if it's open. So an impact is really good. A Goyo, popping it when they're going for the plant, will open the bar and deal the fire damage, which does a ton of damage. It will get you a kill, and then the diffuser's down and you can see it. So that's a nice little trick play as well. So, but most importantly, make the rotate, do the reinforcement. You're going to want this rotate. This is the next most important part of this site setup. Some people make the rotate over here and reinforce this wall. Do not do that. Do it this way. But Poxonlox, they can repel and hold an angle through. I know. You're gonna have to do that. Why? Because the Skylight is more oppressive. The Skylight can hold this rotate and lock you out of sight. The Skylight, it's a hard fight to win. This one, there's ways to deal with it. You can get aggressive onto them from close range. You can jump out Heaven window. You can run out Pillar. You can jump out White window. A lot of ways to deal with this guy. Not a lot of ways to deal with this guy, okay? And then make a rotate into Bathroom. A lot of people do this vault. I think the vault or the crouch is fine. Let's think about this for a second. Well, if the enemies take piano and they take bathroom, now they have to vault through, which is a lot harder than being able to crouch and peek the angles one at a time through this rotate. So I think the vault's actually better. So do a vault hole here, and then you want to do some head holes here. People argue about this. They say do it the other way around, you know, blah, blah, blah. I like doing it this way. Why? Because I can play in bathroom, and I can hold shop, and I can peek ticket, and I can peek things one at a time. Makes this position a lot easier, whereas if you have the head holes here, it's harder to cross this hallway. They can honestly just kind of lock you down, I believe, from the ticket repel. Yep, so the ticket repel can see all the way down here and hold this long angle. So reinforce this wall, head holes here. Make sure you get these reinforcements. A lot of people leave these soft, just absolutely brutal. Just lets the people in piano hold an entire cross down. Now you can open this. If you have a mirror here facing this, you can actually open this whole wall. Now that they're in piano, they're getting smoked off the mirror. It's actually very, very dangerous. But if you don't have the mirror, just reinforce it off. You can do some footholes cart. This basically just allows you to hold the walk up from New Hatch from here. But if you're not playing it, these holes are useless. They don't help you, okay? So don't do it if you're not playing here. Put a shield here. You can hold shop. You can hold contest a lot of piano. It's very, very strong. You can also hold piano with the Azami. You know, you reinforce these off. Boom. Now they drop the red hatch. They're dropping straight into the shop door, which is great because if you have a mute setup here, you're dropping into a shotgun. For example, Exhibit A. We all know this. It's very nice. They drop the hatch. Ba-ba-lam. They're dead. Good to go. If these are soft, they can bucket open. They can drop and just push through. They can ash open, Sophia, whatever. There's so many more options for them if you leave it soft. Another nice little touch is opening up these head holes. You don't have to do this. Is not as important, but you can't get some really disgusting pixel peeks into shop. So you see a little head, bap, 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 dead. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Shoot the glass off the windows, same in piano, and you're good to go, gentlemen. Good to go. And open the hatch. That's also important. And then C4. And then C4. Now we're on kitchen, and this is arguably the worst setup site in all of the ranked maps ever. It's always done poorly and bad. Because people do this, and then people do this, and then people think they're in Pro League, and then they castle this, and they castle this, and they castle this, and they make a rotate, and it's literally garbage. But nobody knows it's garbage, so it keeps working because people attack it like morons, okay? So reinforce this wall, and please, I'm begging you, reinforce this wall. Why? Because nobody is doing full clears, full vertical takes in ranked, unless you're in gold. And if that's the case, the problem isn't the fact that you didn't make the head holes. The problem is you suck, okay? So you reinforce these off. Why? Because nobody clears this out 90% of rounds. And you reinforce this off. Why? Because now this guy can just shoot you. This guy, they have so much control of bakery, and then they don't have to open this wall later on. Reinforce these two walls. Reinforce these two walls. You're going to win so much more. And then when you inevitably fall off bakery and come back to site, you can play this power position. You can hold prep really well. You can shut down the plant from here. You can also safely hold this double door. If you have these reinforced, you're able to play here and hold this cross, which is super good. The only advantage of these head holes is you can hold this small bake hop in. With this reinforced, you can hold this hop in. So you can support your bakery player from it. But the other thing too is if you're in coat and you're playing this position, you can hold the push from here. However, ask yourself the question, what's a better spot to play? This castled and holding this, or in the site with all these walls reinforced and being able to use this as cover? What's better? Well, you might think it's the castle, and that's fine. But why is it not better? Because when you castle off the backside, this signals to the attackers, all of this space is free for taking. And if all of this space is free, they can just come here and open this castle right away and start dumping flashbangs and utility, and they have this castle open right away, and one guy holds you and the other guy flashbangs you, and now you're completely completely cooked because you either run and die or you sit and die because you're fully blind. And now they have control and can use the head holes against your entire team. That's bad. That's not good. We don't want that. This castle setup is garbage. That's the first thing. The head holes are good if you have a full 5-stack and you're literally pro league and you're setting up shields back here and you're holding all of this space and you're stopping him from getting this in the first place. Then your coat is secured because now you have crossfires on this doorway and your coat player is safe. But he's not when you do this garbage castle setup. And if you're going to do that, you can do some footholds here. This is actually a little bit underrated. Reinforce this wall. You can do footholds here if you're playing back here, you know, because then you can just stop the hatch drop as well. But you're going to reinforce this in 99.99999% of rounds. So reinforce these two walls. Reinforce the hatch. The only exception is if you're doing a full roam setup, you know they're not clearing. Opening this hatch can be good because you can get back to the site a whole lot quicker. You do some head holes here. You're going to reinforce this wall up. Now you're pretty much good to go. You have a crossfire on this double door from your footholds if they push there. You can contest prep from here. You can push up and play these bunkers really well because these are reinforced. The only thing left is to hold bakery, which is important. You want to waste time bakery side. This is one of the best positions in the game. You do that by reinforcing this. So if you have a player, you know, on this window, they can't just lock you out. So you reinforce this wall, very important. And if you have a guy playing here or red stairs, they can actually just shoot this stuff off the wall. And they can also contest anybody trying to hop in like mining or whatever from here, you know, especially if they open this wall. So now you can kind of contest this. You can shoot this. You can support your player in bakery. And then you have the guy in bakery. This castle is good because you can play here. So this is like, there are good parts of this setup, which this is the good part. You make the rotate, you put the castle, you're good to go. That's nice. You can even castle this, so they have to deal with this castle, and then they have to deal with this castle or this wall. It just makes them do more work. But your guy in bakery is basically just wasting time here. He's shooting drones, he's using his utility, he's maybe getting a kill, and eventually, you know, even with a shield here, a Denari trips, this is a great setup. You can eventually fall off and get out of here. If you have this reinforced, which you should, now they can't spray down this window from outside. They can't just hold this. A lot of people will reinforce this as well. The only downside of that is if you see this as reinforced as an attacker, right? Think about it from the attacker's point of view. What can you do? You can just walk in. Now you can just walk in and get into this corner. You're pretty safe, right? Now you can start dumping your utility from here to kill this player. If those are open, now they're kind of stuck on this reinforcement, and you can swing them from this side. If you know they're on this reinforcement, you can swing wide and just blast them through the wall, right? Or you can actually open above this reinforcement. The reinforcement ends at this wood beam, and what you can do then is C4 over. Outside the doorways, cooked. Fantastic. So that's your setup. Reinforce these, reinforce this. So much more beautiful. Throw a roamer upstairs to stop them from, you know, slamming you on every vertical, and you're good to go. Hit a 360. Lastly, we have the reading room and dining bomb site. It's actually a really good site. People play it third, but you could totally play it first or second if you want. It just forces the attack to do more, but it is a little more complicated. Firstly, make a rotate. You need to rotate out of here. You don't want to be trapped in this room. Again, if they have a guy here and this is your only way in, they can just hold this and then go plant the bomb. And now you can't retake the space. So you need the rotates to get through into new positions. You can also stop the plant from over here. You can see for it. You can open up this with an impact so they can't plant on that shelf, which is really good. I personally like to make a little hole here sometimes so I can just hold this doorway and kind of work my way around these walls a little bit. And you will want to open up this hatch. We'll explain why in a second. And then for your back wall of dining, I like to do a reinforcement on one of them if you want. You can reinforce this. You can also just make head holes, which allows you to basically just hold this entire site push from here. Now, the other thing you can do is make a rotate, like in this corner. Just make a rotate. That way you can get back in. The only thing is it can help the other team. You know, if they take white, for example, now they have this control. They can actually push in here. So, but, you know, something like this works pretty well. You don't have to worry too much about it. If you are worried about it, or you're worried about them coming mining and holding this long angle on the white stairs, just reinforce it. Reinforce the wall, make the rotate. You're good to go. Make a little head hole. So if you have this reinforced, picture it in your heads now, then you can actually peek off this and actually fight the guys that are trying to push in. Reinforce this wall, though. This is really important. This just stops them from being able to, one, make a rotate and walk into the site, but two, just get these really strong angles to cut you off. If they're forced to push in through this thing, they have to basically crouch in, and it's not a great fight to take because they're moving so slow. Even more importantly, you're gonna make some holes like this. You're gonna make some footholds. So if they try to push through this, they're getting smoked, dude, okay? They're exposed to everything. Unless they drone out and see nobody's playing here, it's completely clear. In that case, it's completely useless to do this. But what you can do is you can actually hold that fireplace, walk in when they're crouch walking in from here as well, shoot them through the wall. You've got a really good one-way now from reading. But you can also hold this 90 hall push from here, so you can kind of contest this 90 hall push, which is nice. You gotta be careful of this window, of course, but you know, you should be fine, especially if you're sitting in a corner like this, depending on what you're dealing with. Reinforce both of these. This just stops them from getting on these pillar rappels or even in pillar and just opening up these angles on you. So reinforcing those is also great. The most important part of the setup is what you do upstairs. Now, before you go upstairs, put some barbed wire, put something on this so you know if they're coming up. You don't, the worst case scenario is you do all this site setup and someone goes like this, they walk up, They kill your guy on site, they take the bomb site, and now your whole team has to fall off their hold because they just walked up a single staircase, which you can do a lot of the time. That's called a gap, and there's 1 million of them in every single ranked game you play. Now, you go upstairs. What are we doing upstairs? Making the rotate freezer, right? We know how to do this. No, moron, reinforce, okay? Reinforce these, reinforce this, reinforce this. You could do the rotate if you want, but honestly, I like just the double reinforcement. We're basically holding this, and why would we want to hold this space? What does this space do for us? Well, you can hold the bomb site from above. You make holes, you can stop them from walking in from above. If you're over here, you can also stop it from above, right? You can stop the plant. You can hold the door. So you want to make these holes, which are also really good. A Rooney works well. This is a spot you could castle. This is, you know, or you could just have the utility, the barbed wire, the thorn traps, whatever, deep in here so that you know they're not pushing, or even like way up, you know, by the shop door. So you basically want to know if they're pushing up here. Valk's really good on the site because you can C4 all of this from below too, or if they're inner bar, they're sneaking up, you get a C4 off. It's very nice. Basically, you have these holes. If they don't push you up upstairs, you have the holes. If they do push you upstairs, you have all these reinforcements, and they're pushing into the choke points of this doorway and this hallway. If they're doing that, you have crossfires on it. You have a lot of cover. You have these bars for even more cover, right? You know, you bob and weave off this. You can put a shield here. You have one guy holding this, one guy holding this. You can vault up here. You can play it with a shotgun. Or if there's nobody on your repels, you can even hold the hallway like this. This is a great spot for some barbed wire or a trap because that's when you know they're in the middle of the open, and that's when you peek and pre-fire them as they're walking up the hallway and you have all the cover. The only other thing you might want to do is if you want to extend the top floor even more, you can reinforce off the red walls and open this hatch. This actually lets you contest train if you have this open, so you can hold this space and contest train. You can even do like a shotgun hole like this, which is also great for the top floor, which lets you watch this mining hop in. But yeah, so you can test the top, and if you're not holding this space and you're giving it up and playing that white side, you can reinforce this, just play it from back here. Yeah, you're good to go. Or you just leave it soft and you can always go open it later to hit a flank onto them. But if you reinforce it, it lets your teammates play and train a whole lot safer and contest this space earlier on, which is what we're trying to do with pretty much every round in Siege. We're just trying to hold as much space as possible on defense and then be able to peel back safely, peel back those layers, waste utility, waste time, and contest the other team. And that's how we can do it on this site. Welcome to Border. This is an interesting one. There's a lot of different ways to set up Border. For example, you could reinforce these two walls, or you can open up this right wall here to help your CC player. You basically always want to hold CC. This is the best position to play on this bomb site. However, you got to be aware that holding CC, you're not contesting this direct rush, so your teammates will have to be ready for that. The way they can do that is just open up some holes here. You don't want them too low because otherwise you're just making lines of sight all the way through the bomb site for the player on the balcony. But by having them up here, you can see for that default plant from back safely behind that metal half wall, which is nice, or you can see for the window plant from there as well. What I like to do is just make some poke holes, so if they want to plant on this doorway, they are fully exposed underneath, so they actually, in a way, are forced to clear it out before, and if they don't, you have a guy down there, this guy's just going to die, which is great. The other thing you can do is do some holes like this for anybody playing underneath to stop this plant or throw C4 up, which also works really well. I like doing these footholds for if they try to walk in through metal and you have this archive player, just shoot them through the wall. And if you're a defender trying to retake this space, instead of walking past the footholds, you'll basically just vault into here instead, and you can still safely come here and contest, you know, the archives push. However, you're not going to be able to do much if they open up this wall, guys, because there's a window here that looks all the way through the bomb site, which is why Ace or Hibana on this window is really good, because you can open up this wall and just literally lock down the bomb site. Reinforcing that, going to be a very big priority, so reinforce that up and you're good to go. Also reinforce this wall because otherwise they can just spray through office and it's, you know, you don't have a safe spot to play, so you reinforce that. And you can do some footholds here to contest fountain. Most of the time I just leave this the way it is because the problem with these footholds is if they open up this back fountain wall, which a lot of people will make the rotate here, now they can actually see you and use the footholds against you. So I prefer to just leave these walls just the way they are and maybe even reinforce this if you want to play in fountain. But a lot of people open up the rotate here, open up into CC, which I'll show you in a second. Then you can reinforce office wall, which allows you to play here safely. So basically you can fight here, reinforce these two, make some footholds here. This just allows you to stops them from getting angles from east. So if they take east stairs and they open this, they can just look at the line of sight they get, right? So reinforcing these two is really important. Also allows you to play here and kind of contest them through these footholds. Then you can fall off, contest this doorway from here, and then you can always fall back to fountain and then contest more, and then fall back to site and contest even more. So you have this really, really strong layering approach to office, which works really, really well, especially with like a thorn here. So some barbed wire and a thorn trap, and you know, some barbed wire, thorn trap, a Rooney, whatever, which is really good. And the other thing, if you have an ACOG soap, let's say you are a Rooney, you can even contest the break door from here. So you're holding a ton of space with one room if you set it up the right way, which is why these default setups are so important. Let's talk about CC, because again, one of the strongest spots to play. The biggest thing is if you're playing office, you're playing CC, if you're doing these setups, there's still gaps. This metal stairs, you need barbed wire, you need info, you need something to tell you, hey, there's a guy walking up here so that you can actually react and contest this guy. Let's say they're on break door and they open this wall. Now we can't do this because this guy's holding us. So reinforcing this wall is good because it stops that from happening. You can also do head holes here. A lot of people like to basically peek off of this and fight the door that way. And then you reinforce this so you're safe from the east stairs as you do it. You sit here, you can contest the balcony through these footholes, you can contest the window from all these safe positions. If they're not on your window, you can go fight this way, you can retake this balcony. You're basically holding the entire top floor this way, including the bomb site, because if they want to go and thermite this wall, let's say you reinforce both these offs, which I do recommend in lower ranks, you reinforce these offs and just sit here with the footholes. Now if the thermite just wants to run up and get the wall, you're just shooting him through the wall and he's dead. Now they can't actually take this space and work for this plant and work for this site without dealing with you first. So now they're forced to reevaluate, go back around, and actually clear you out of here first, which is why holding CC is just so good. So if you're holding CC, you're going to win. Especially if you put some traps on this balcony. Ooh, baby, now we're getting spicy. You hit a one tap here, you run out, blast them over there. It is very effective, especially if you do a rotate here too, which basically allows you to come from CC into fountain really quick and support your teammates on site a whole lot easier right off the start. Oh, can I land this? Next, we're on bathroom tellers, which has multiple ways to set up, okay? So keep that in mind when you're doing this. The only thing that's non-negotiable is a rotate right here. Because if you don't have a rotate and you just leave this wall, which so many people do in like gold, silver, and these lower ranks, they can just hop in the bomb site. Not good. Either that or you set a trap for them, you think they think it's safe, and then you like impact the wall or C4 the wall when they hop in. That could also work. And I think about it, I'm probably going to try to do that. You can also make like a head hole here if you want to do this, but I want to recommend it because they can kind of go outside the window and you can see they can kind of hold angles through here. Now, here's the dilemma. You can reinforce the hatch and reinforce these walls, which allows you to play bathroom safer, but if they work vert, you're kind of trapped. I prefer make a vaultable rotate, why vaultable and not crouch? Because if the attackers take this space, now they have to actually make that sound cue and have that awkward vault into your gunfights, which is not ideal compared to the crouching, of course. And if you make the rotate and you reinforce these two walls, even better, all four of these, if you have enough reinforcements, you can actually like mute this off. You can put some barbed wire here and you can hold all the space, which is really good because they have to feed in through this doorway. And if they have to do that and they don't decide to, you open up this here, which you'll probably want to do regardless. And now you can hold that site window hop in from here as well. If you're a smoke, you can smoke deep enough to stop a plant there too. So like if it's a glass, you can actually stop a plant with a smoke from here, which is really nice. And the rest of these holes, or the rest of these walls, we can kind of leave alone. If you really want, you can do some footholes here to hold the push up. I wouldn't recommend that, only maybe as a reaction technique, because sometimes you can sit here and it's a really nice little rad spot, but you lose that ability once you open these holes because obviously everybody can see you on the other side of the hole. So you set this up, you're good to go. You've locked this down. Reinforcing this hatch is super strong along with the other hatch. And then some people like to castle this. I think that's a big mistake. I think castling these off is actually bad. I think you should extend out into this room, reinforce these two walls off, and basically now you have a crossfire from your workshop guy and this guy onto the guy walking in main door. And if you don't have the guy workshop, well, it's fine because you can still hold main door by yourself and you're still contesting the space, which allows you to fight blue desk if they start pushing through from open area, but you can also even open up footholes here for passport if they try to take this, which basically just means, hey, you want to walk in there, I'm going to shoot you through the wall. So this space is really, really strong, and I think giving it up is a huge mistake that happens way too often on this site. You notice that there's a common theme here. Castle bad most of the time. Yeah, that's right. The other thing you can do is reinforce. You can open this and actually set up above, but that's a whole nother load of crap that I'm not going to talk about. But basically you do the office setup the same way we did on the other site. The only other thing you might want to do is, again, footholes on this passport wall for anybody who's playing east stairs. So if you're playing east stairs, which is a very strong position for the attackers, or bottom east, you're able to actually shoot them through the wall and they can't sit in any safe spots there now. And passport's a really good spot. Passport and east stairs, because if the attackers gain east stairs and they have control of these flanks upstairs, now they can just open this wall. They can, roar door this off, or even worse, it's castled off from the defense because they like to throw. And now they can just push for this wall and push for this plant by clearing out the bomb site really, really easily. Couple flashes, whatever. The other thing you can do if you hold customs, one last little trick, is you can put footholes here. So if you have customs control and they get to actually, planting, I mean, they can plant here. Is really the problem. You can't really stop this, right? But if they're planting like sandwich, now you can see them from customs and actually support your team from there too. So you've created like this nice system around the first floor, and that's your first floor setup. If you reinforce this off, you're usually playing up top and committing all your utility and operators up there, and then you can actually make like vertical holes and stuff to hold walk-ups like this. You can hold that from above. You can also hold like workshop from above if you open the hatch, especially if you give it up, which is really nice. And yeah, there's a lot of different options when it comes to playing this site. you're setting up ventilation workshop, well, there's a bit of a problem here, right? How do we get into B site? Well, we got to walk through this door and walk through this door. And what's the problem with that? Well, this is a literal outside door that they can just hold all this space super, super easily. We don't want to walk through here. Walking through here equals die. If we have that equation in our brain, we're going to be much better off. What we can do is make a rotate here, and that will allow us to get in safer unless they're actually like deep on this doorway, which of course, if they're deep on that doorway, holding this rotate, right? They're doing this. What's the problem? Well, they can just die from here or here really, really easily. So this is super high risk for them. So to make the rotate, the other thing you can do is reinforce this wall. This is the one I like to reinforce. You can make head holes on it, which is kind of nice. So you make some head holes around this, and that just lets you basically contest the window hopping a little bit easier. You can also, you know, throw a C4 for the plant. You got to be aware though, because if you open up this hole, they do get this angle from the window. So I'd actually negate what I'm saying. Don't open this. Just open this one. There you go. And you can also stop the push in to the bomb site from here, which is nice. You got to be careful though. They can get deep angles from customs, which is why holding customs is actually a great idea too. You can reinforce off these detention walls the exact same way, make your footholes, and then you can actually hold this space to get a crossfire main door. You can also even contest top metal from here, C4 up, whatever, hit a flank route. I actually really like this site. I like it a lot better. I just reinforce all these walls. Yeah, give up all the bathroom. It's absolutely a-okay. Why? Because you're holding customs, and if you're holding customs in sight, you have a crossfire on this too. So if you're holding these areas, they can't just push in and take the site from you. Hopefully you have the info, the barbed wire, the traps to tell you that they're actually pushing there. And if you want, you can even make a rotate here, which just kind of lets you play in supply, contest this window, fight the main door, and then easily rotate out and, you know, peek from different areas and use this space to your advantage. But you're exposed to top metal, which is why holding top floor is also really good on this site. A lot of people castle this off. Dumb. Why? Giving up all the space of the map, giving it up for free. Instead, put trap here. Put trap here. Now they can't sneak up on you, right? Woohoo. What we want to do on this top floor, though, is reinforce off armory, and we basically want to hold it from above. I like doing footholds all the way along here, and then just opening the hatch. You can reinforce this wall, which is what you do on the armory bomb site, just so they can't get the long angles from the doorway. But by doing this, you know, you set up some mute jammers, whatever, you can hold vertical on the bomb site, so you actually can stop all the plants from above. But by holding top, you're also stopping them from using this space to their advantage. They have the ram and the fuse. They can't ram and fuse if you're here fighting them and stopping them from taking this space to begin with. So this is a really nice way to hold extra space on the map. You can even hold the armory door from here. You can contest archives. And then you can even do footholds here if they try to walk in archive side on you. Ideally, you have two people. You reinforce this hatch because you're not going to play it very much. You can open up this office hatch, though, and then make longer angles into tellers, so you can actually stop the entrance into the building from here. So you could start here, check the cameras, be like, okay, nobody spawned over here. All right, so I'll just go armory side now. Maybe this is barricaded. Maybe this is castled. You know, that's the one exception. Maybe you want to reinforce this so they don't get the really long angle on you. It's really up to you what you do, which is the beauty of a site setup. The more you can adapt and understand why you're actually doing it, the better you're going to be, because now you know how to counter and adjust to what the other team is doing, which is this all Siege is. Big game of rock, paper, scissors. Really, really big game of rock, paper, scissors. Here we are on Villa, another map that people mess up the site setup almost every single time. Now, what we're going to want to do is firstly make some head holes here. I mean, this is not the most important. The most important thing on this site is making a rotate in this wall. And the second most important thing on this site is making head holes in this wall. And you might think, oh no, why? What? This can't be right. Now they can see all the way from study balcony and cut off a long line of sight. Yeah, but they can't see into vault. And if you reinforce this wall, you're good to go. You can rotate safely through here. You can technically cross this, but it is a little bit risky. But you can also even vault up on this to hold like the study window, which is really nice. But these head holes also work for another reason. It's because you can vault up on this bar. If I'm not bad, one sec. You vault up from this way. Never mind. You can't jump on it anymore. All right. Well, I guess you want to make this a little bit lower then, because then you can hold the walk-in through Skull Door, but you can also C4 over from here to stop the default plant behind the vault wall, which is also good. I wouldn't recommend making a rotate, but I guess you can if you want. So you can stop the plant with your C4 there, smokes, Tachanka, whatever. The next thing you're going to want to do is make some footholds in these games wall. Very, very important step that most people miss. If you make footholds in these and then reinforce the outer walls, now if anybody's walking up this hallway as an attacker, you have one-way angle angles onto them. So this is a very powerful way to hold this hallway, especially later in the round after you give up the space, because you're not going to all sit on site on this site. That's a very bad play. So reinforce this wall, reinforce those two, reinforce this, reinforce these two. Okay, you have all your reinforcements down. Now what you want to do is you want to hold 90 and you want to hold top main. And this is very straightforward, and there's a very good reason why you want to do this. Walking into study is a choke point. When they walk in here, they're exposed to the head holes, they're exposed to this doorway, and they're exposed to top main. If nobody's top main, it makes it a lot easier for them to smoke this, push in, and take this space really easily. Top main is what stops them from taking study. So main is very, very important. You can put some barbed wire down here. You can even go prone with some really ridiculous angles, because when people walk up, they're not looking at the floor here. They're looking like this up the staircase. You know, they'll check it like this, and then they'll walk up like this, and then you're there. You shoot them in the side of the head. Very, very effective. So you put some barbed wire there. You can put a shield or something here. Basically just stopping them from walking in through here. You just got to be careful of that window if they go on it. You can even vault up on top of this and get some nice angles. And then you can also contest 90 from here. So if they're trying to take 90, you can contest it from here. Or even better, if they don't take study, well, now you can play study and contest this side of the map using your holes and using the doorway. If you only have the doorway, they can just hold you out and go for that plant like we mentioned before. But these head holes work both ways, which is why it's really, really strong for you. The other thing about these head holes is if they're in study, now they have to worry about all these angles from bar as well as their study swing, and they're kind of worried about multiple things at the same time, and they can't pick every direction. Head holes, very, very good. Head holes, love the head holes. And that's pretty much how we want to set up this site. One last thing I will mention is that if you're the 90 player, firstly, you're kind of stopping the 90 repel guy. You know, you can actually play this pretty aggressive on this window. You can even push up with a shotgun like this and just take this player out. If you get rid of the 90 pressure, it's really good. The other thing you can do is open this hatch, drop down, and hop out this window, or even just opening this will add pressure to him where he'll have to worry about it. But if they don't go 90 window and they're pushing up this hallway, a thorn trap, a Fenrir on these lights or on these arches is great, because then you can just swing off of it and pre-fire. But keeping this control maintains a crossfire onto this top landing between the site and 90, which is good, because now if they're walking up here, they have to worry about the site swing and the 90 swing and potentially someone flanking up red. So holding 90, holding site, and holding top main are really, really strong on this map, and this is how we're going to want to set it up. Yeet! Woo! Next in line is statue and trophy. Reinforce your two right walls. You don't want to open these just because, you know, you don't have a lot of cover in here if these are open. But if you reinforce these two and open this wall and then some footholes on the closet, well, now you've actually created this really, really nasty one-way angle. You can even do this when you're playing the aviary site. If you want to roam, you reinforce these two walls, make the head holes, and now you can watch the hop in from here. Some barbed wire, a frost mat, both really strong on that window. And then when you see them hop in, you just spray them through the wall head level. The only thing about this is they can technically sit on this window and hold an entire crossfire through the site. So that is scary, and that's something you need to be aware of. If your teammates are so garbage that they always die, just reinforce this off. It gives up all the space. Like a bad castle, it does give up a lot of space, but at least your dumb teammates aren't running through here and getting smoked by a guy in the window that they're not prepared for. Now, the other thing we want to do is make a little head hole here, which allows us to hold deer. So if they're trying to push in through deer, we don't have to actually be in the room to contest it, and we don't have to peek these really, you know, the middle of the open, essentially. So now we can actually use this cover, safe from the window, to successfully hold deer and hold little pixels on it. And of course, if you're smoke, you can smoke from here too, but you can even smoke bricks. So this is another great spot for smoke. But more importantly, we want to open up a rotate into Astro. If you're going to remember anything about this setup, it's make an Astro rotate and hold Astro. Astro is the best spot on this site. Reinforce this wall. That'll protect you from deer side. And if they do come, you know, 90 hall side, you can, again, C4 over. You can make a hole a little bit lower, so you can actually peek off this reinforcement from both sides, like we talked about earlier. Now you can do a little hole this side. So now you're able to peek off the reinforcement, fight deer, contest it, smoke it, throw your utility, whatever. But they can still walk in from behind you. So you want some barbed wire, you want some info on this staircase. You can even do vertical holes on this staircase if you want. So you can actually make holes from Astro. Now be wary when you do this, because if you're making holes over here, or even like something like this, then it's a lot harder to play behind this desk safely, because if you're getting pushed from bathroom and you're holding an angle like this, well, now they can walk up and shoot you through your own holes. But if you're in Astro, a lot of good things you could do. Little punch hole for a potential pick. You just don't want to hold it for too long. Make sure you're not getting droned out on that. That's an easy pre-fire. You can use the desk as cover. If you hold bathroom first, now there's another layer they have to get through. So I recommend very highly reinforcing both these walls. A lot of people leave this wall soft. The problem with that is they can then open it and get this long angle from the window and completely lock down bathroom. But if you reinforce them both off, now they have to hop into the closet, fight these footholes where you can shock them to the floor. You can shotgun them on this window. You can run some traps, some frost, whatever, thorn, and then you can play here aggressively. Just be careful when you're backing up, because you can die to the window. You can die to a guy walking up the staircase. You can also open this hatch early, so you can fight them if they're trying to walk up the stairs. So there's a lot of really good playmaking ability from this bathroom area. And if you're playing in Master, you're exposed to a whole lot of stuff, unless you bring like the Azami and Azami this up. You can put a shield here just to stop the Master push, and you can even contest Closet from here. And you're basically just locking down this area. If you lock down Master Astro, now the other team has to, even if they take the other side of the map, they have to funnel into these choke points where they're exposed to Master, they're exposed to the head holes, they're exposed to anyone on site, maybe somebody even hiding in the corner here, C4s below. The lock can go bad for them when they're at this point. You can even do footholes here if you really want. This will just let you play in statue and hold the trophy hop in, which is also good. So there's a lot of good ways to contest that side. Yeah, then you're just playing these angles, locking it down, and that's the play. That's the move. One more thing that's super sneaky and super dumb and that will never actually get you a kill, but it might, is this. You can open up this angle on China. This is something I did in competitive because a lot of people would clear from below. So you have people coming through kitchen a lot of the time on you in your rank or region or whatever. You can actually make this angle, and this holds this double door right here, which is crazy because that's where people will walk through from kitchen. This door right here, off this disgusting little angle, and nobody's going to see that. Even on a drone, they're not going to see that. So good way to get some easy kills if you know people really like coming through kitchen and then walking up Astro's stairs. Bing bong dead. Next up is kitchen, another phenomenally misplayed site that castle players go to completely screw over their team. Don't play castle. Don't play castle on this site. I'm gonna be really mad. Popping this hatch is great because you can watch the stair walk up. See, it's not absolutely necessary, but you want to reinforce this. A mute jammer here is great. A bandit, a cage to stop them from opening this, because if they open this, they have this long angle from this is outside the map where they can basically cut the entire site, which is not good. We don't want that. So reinforce that and try to keep it closed if you can. If you want to make a rotate here into China, this will be another way into the site where you don't have to cross this line of sight if they do get that wall open, so you can effectively get around safely without having to expose yourself too much. You want to make some head holes here and then just reinforce this wall, because if you don't reinforce this wall, then get long lines of sight from outside China all the way deep over here, for example, right where we might be playing. And if we're over here, the boxes are blocking us, so reinforcing this is good. It also works the other way, where if they're trying to push in from laundry, you know, then we can make the hole on the side of the reinforcement, and then we're able to hold laundry door, and again we can peek off the other head holes, or we can even C4 over this to stop a plant or stop a push or whatever. But you really want to set up laundry as the big thing. A lot of people will reinforce off these walls, which I think is a small mistake. Just do the left one and make footholes on the right. That way, if they are trying to take in from laundry, they're not able to safely sit here. If they can sit here and drone, they can really act off that info really well. But if they're back here, now they have to cross these lines of sight where, you know, there's a lot of good prone angles. You can hold this from kitchen even, stuff like this. So you can see them coming ahead of time, but you have a lot of one-ways on them. So opening these footholes are really, really good. You just gotta be aware because some people are really dumb and they will just prone up and do this, and maybe they'll kill you from it, so be aware of that. A good solution to this is to open this hatch. Now, the other option is to reinforce it. If you reinforce this, you can actually play in here. This doorway is a choke point, so you could play a warden shotgun here, right? They can't flash you, they can't really deal with you. Careful of a Blackbeard, he might just charge you down, you know, a Monty, whatever. Then things get tough. But if you open this hatch and you give up this space, now there's a lot of pressure. If they take that, there's potential flank routes from the hatch, which is really good. It's good to roam on this site. And your castle players are going to be the guys that castle off this door, castle off this door, castle off this door, and castle off this door, and then you have absolutely nowhere to go, and they go above with a buck or a ram or a sledge or a fuse or literally any of the operators that can clap your cheeks. They open everything, and you're in a box, and they take every other area and just smoke you. So don't play castle. Reinforce these two memo walls. You can put some barbed wire or something here, just some sort of info for them walking in here. And now from here, you can open up head holes if you want. You know, there's a lot of ways to contest this area. You're basically just holding the site. You can even get aggressive on these like bicycle windows to peek people outside, but you're basically just reacting to what the other team is doing. A lot of C4s are good here, like C4s from below with the Valk. This is a really good area because this is bathroom upstairs, so C4s here are really good. That's why opening this wall first is a good play for attackers, because then you can't get C4 when you're taking above if you're trying to open above. So that's your site setup, but then you want to go upstairs, and you want to have some sort of upstairs hold on this, because if they take top, everything is soft and you are safe literally nowhere on site except for this back corner of kitchen, which hopefully I can show you. I mean, I'm not going to get the angle on it, but there's this back corner on the other side of the, no, actually you can open above it too. Yeah, so you're not even safe there. So they can take all above. So what you do is you open the hatch, you can contest this the exact same way, making your holes early, you know, bringing the traps, bringing info in case they're clearing across the other side. And then you can open this and end up dropping down, but this also lets you help drop and support this China push.
I recommend reinforcing this wall. Some sledges will crouch walk to the basement, sledge through this wall, and be in sight in 5 seconds, and that's not something you really want. Next is Nighthaven Labs. Absolutely love me some Nighthaven Labs. First things first, make a rotate. This is great. You want to basically hold this space. Now, it's fine if you give up this space later, if they push it, to fall off and reinforce this off afterwards, but you want to reinforce this for now and make the rotate. It allows you to support the player in here, get some nice angles, and then you want to reinforce these outside walls so they're not taking this space for free. This is a great choke point, great with a shotgun, especially if they don't open this. You know, you can pick some people off, put some barbed wire here, because if you don't, they can kind of sneak up and hold this angle, which is something you have to be aware of if you're making this rotate. So if you're going to make this, you got to play over here. The other thing about this too is if you hold this space, you can stop this window hopping, right? If an attacker is outside a window and they're trying to hold you in, like, they can't get an angle on you there, so they have to vault in, which gives them a really big disadvantage, especially if they're jumping into barbed wire traps, to you holding an angle onto them with your crosshair already exactly where they're gonna be, and they have to guess kind of where you're gonna be holding it from. So holding connector is great. You can hold this space really well, and yeah, you have your reinforcement, you're good to go. A Rooney Gate or something here is good. Trap Mute Jammer is also really good. You can play the shotgun close here as well. Holding this space is also really, really strong. That's your connector side setup, and again, you can fall off and reinforce this if they start pushing there, and if they don't, it's nice because you can actually use this rotate against the other team from the other side to hold like rafters, for example. Next up, you want to make some holes in the rafters wall and then reinforce the other two. You don't have to do this. It just helps your rafters player if you have one. So if you don't have a rafters player and nobody's going to play here, reinforcing this is not a bad option. The only problem is it gives up a lot of this really strong space, and I do recommend playing here if you have, you know, the player count to do it, and then keeping these walls shut, reinforcing these two, of course, just so they can't take, if they can't open this wall and they don't open it with a hard breacher, you got some really strong spots from here in IT. So you hold rafters, you open this, reinforce the other two, maybe reinforce this depending on what you got, put some traps or something here. Mute Jammer also works really well, and then some barbed wire on the stairs to stop them from taking it. So you're setting up rafters, you're reinforcing this, you're extending out. You see how much space we're holding, which is really the name of the game. And then on this wall, some people do it backwards. This is the right way to do it. Reinforcement, footholds. Now what happens if an attacker is walking up? They can't, firstly, they can't shoot you if you're sitting behind the bomb, which is a really strong spot, right? So if you're sitting behind the bomb, very good spot to play. Why? Because you can hold rafters from here. You have a ton of cover, very difficult shot for them to hit. You know, you can hold the breach, but you can also hold these footholds if this is reinforced and this is set up properly. A Mute Jammer here, fantastic. Now they're not going to just drive their drone in for free and get all the info in the world. Maybe a trap here. Maybe you extend out Aqua, put a Rooney Gate, some barbed wire. You know, you're holding this space, and with this space, you're able to also play here and contest rafters and the breach push, except we have no head holes for the breach. So let's open those up too. You can do this either way, but this is the better one in my opinion. Reinforcement here, head holes here. The problem with this is now they can kind of sneak in from IT and not have to worry. They can fight you if you're on this side of the A site. So they can kind of use this reinforcement against you. But the reinforcement is better because now they can't get all these deep angles to the B-bomb. You got to be careful. They can technically hold the rotates over here. So you need a lot of info. You need to hold a lot of space. But it is a very solid setup nonetheless. And you can also open the hatch. A lot of people say you plant here and then you drop down and play it from below. Terrible idea because they can long arm from literally all the way over here and you're never going to guess properly. Or, you know, he's just sitting here. Oh, look, he defused the bomb. Whoop-de-doo. So not a great idea. But if you do drop below or you play below, this is a fantastic C4 for like the main breach. I probably missed a little bit. Yeah, but, you know, if they're in IT, that's also a good C4 and you can hit flanks on rafters and stuff. So we created this like fluid system for the top floor. And that's kind of what we're looking to do our defense is we're creating a system where we can flawlessly adjust to wherever the attack is coming from and whatever they're doing without just giving them free space. If we reinforce this all off, the attackers come here and they see that like, oh, this is free. So they come in with a thermite. They come in with a guy. They use their utility on this. They take this space. Now all of a sudden they have crossfires through the bomb site and they open the main breach and now you can't sit anywhere safely, right? Maybe you're sitting here, but they have the main breach open on you and there's a guy on this door, so you're just dead unless you win this fight. But maybe he has a flashbang. Maybe he has a shield, you know, and then you have to fall off and then they just go plant and then you lose. So you want to contest and hold the space. It's absolutely crucial if you want to win more on defense. Head into the basement next. First things first, connect the bomb sites. Are they connected? By one door. Okay, how can we add another one? Okay, well, there's a door here, so what if we do this? Oh, now we have another room that we can get to the bomb site from. I like to rotate on the right side compared to the left, because if you do the rotate on the right, you can stop the default plant from here while also being covered from the breach. So you can C4, you can smoke, you can just shoot them when they run in. You don't have to peek into the breach. That's a big mistake a lot of people make. You can do it the other way around. However, then if they are going for that default plant, you have to basically swing all the way across to stop this. And basically, you're exposing yourself to anybody holding this breach. So you have to first kill the breach to then stop the plant, which is a lot more difficult than just stopping the guy who's trying to plant the bomb. So reinforce this puppy, and make the rotate right there. The reason we do a vault is just in case they go deep off an execute or late in the round when they're trying to sneak through, like from EXO. A lot of 1v1s happen in this area. This is going to give a very big audio cue, and you don't have to guess. You know they're stuck in this bomb site, so you can just hold passively if it comes down to it. So make this one vault. Next thing you're going to want to do, potentially, is open this wall and reinforce this one. This is a great spot for Amira. Helps you stop EXO, but these head holes are good for a couple of reasons. If you're playing in EXO, which you should be, and reinforcing your hatch, you can put some barbed wire here. Again, playing off the info, shooting them when they hit the barbed wire. But then you can also use these head holes to contest the push through sight. So you can contest a lot from here, which is good. And you can also stop them from default planting from here as well. Or even, you know, they're on the breach, they're going for a plant, quick C4, boom. A couple other things I'll add to your setup is a shotgun hole here in the floor. That's the storage window. A lot of people come in here with fuse, RAM, especially in lower ranks, they'll just hop in and think it's clear. All of a sudden, you're just getting a free kill literally instantly. The only problem is once they open this breach, you can't play it, so keep that in mind. So they kind of have to clear things in steps, and the more they have to do things in steps, the harder it becomes. This also allows you to hold this window from above. Be careful. If they take from another way, they can look down here and kill you when you're holding EXO, so keep that in mind. Arguably the most important part of this setup is footholes all along this cargo wall. This stops them from being able to walk into cargo for free. People mess this up way too often. If you don't have the footholes here, they will see this and they will take this doorway. And if they take this doorway, now they have crossfires onto the bomb site. So reinforce the hatch, put some barbed wire or something here. You can play here early in case someone tries to rush. Same thing as we did on the other side. You take them out, easy picks. But then if you don't play here, they come down here. Look, I can't see anything. I'm an attacker. I'm getting blasted through every single wall, right? So it's a very big, like, hey, you can't come here anymore. And you can sit on these like angles from the staircases to shoot them through the walls. The only other thing you could really add to this setup, well, firstly, more reinforcements, is reinforce this wall, reinforce this wall. This stops them from being able to just plant here for free as easily. They have to open it up, reinforce the hatch. Now, if you're roaming heavy, opening this hatch is actually really good because a direct sight take through this single wall is really strong if this is reinforced, because now you can just flood through here and there's no flank pressure and you can just kind of steamroll forward with all your utility. So be careful of that and open the hatch to counter that if you need to, but reinforcing the hatch is the default style. It's also a great spot for like some Goyos or whatever, Denari trips along here. Just basically you're stacking your utility to stop these main site takes, which are really, really strong. And the only other thing I would suggest potentially is maybe some head holes here. You don't want to go too overboard though. I already did. Like I would probably reinforce this side. That way you can still contest breach from here and then don't have to focus. It just adds more pressure, like the Villa situation where if you're on the breach and you can get peek from here and here and here and here, and there's like vert holes on you too, like let's say there's a guy above, all of a sudden it's not looking too lovely to push in through this breach, and I'm probably less likely to do it. And then you see for yourself. Last up for Nighthaven is the kitchen site. This is just the more popular choice. The other site is technically better in my opinion, but you know, that is just my opinion. So we'll go over kitchen and how to set it up because it's pretty straightforward, but you should still know how to do it. If you want to reinforce these walls, this is the lobby walls where a lot of people will come from. Playing above on this site is really good. Most of the tertiary sites, like the third sites you go to, you want to play above to stop them from taking vertical. It's why the sites are weaker. It's arguably why they're also stronger in competitive settings. A lot of really good angles on this. I mean, you can play a lot of angles off this desk, which is really like a really strong anchor point. But again, if they take vertical, they can clear this out pretty easily from above, so you got to be aware of that. So what you want to do is make some head holes on the right side of this wall, reinforce this off. This stops them from getting these really strong angles from the kitchen window onto your power position. So reinforcing this wall is going to be important because of that. And then the head holes allow you to contest the kitchen window and the drop into the closet. So if they want to try to push direct for it, you have this hatch. You can actually run outside off the start of the round and reinforce it. But then you can watch the drop from here. You can also make some footholes here, which I do recommend, which just basically says, hey, if you want to drop here, you're dropping into a risky environment on the other side. But there's no risk if nobody plays there, so it is recommended that, you know, you set up somebody in vending because you can contest the push from garage side, from water side, and you can still support the site, but not when this wall is completely shut. So you want to make some head holes along that as well. So you can now hold the site with your crossfires from your teammate, holding this space, and you can reinforce these two for if they want to come here later. So let's say you play here for a while and then you fall off or you die. Now they have to actually get through this reinforcement as well, or they're forced into a choke point of the doorway, which again, you're exposed to this, you're exposed to this, you're exposed to this. When you walk in, you're exposed to these angles, you're exposed to a lot. But if you open the breach, it becomes a little more simple. This is also a great spot for some traps or ruining gates so they can't just walk in and push through. Same with that other doorway into sight. But if you're going to hold this, you got to hold up top. You can make some lines of sight or even a rotate here, but you have to be careful because this window obviously can look directly towards it. If you reinforce this, maybe play a castle here or a shield or something, then you can actually contest this top take a little easier. It's not the most like developed strategy, but it can work. I recommend you actually extend it in connector and reinforce the connector walls. Maybe you are playing the mute. Maybe you put some traps here, some drone denial, a mozzie, whatever. So now you can play here. You can even open up this wall if you want and just contest the hop ins and the take from top lobby stairs. But if you're playing in meeting, you're kind of trapped. So if they go on these windows, you know, you're in this bad spot where you're stuck between two windows and then you have a guy pushing behind you. At least with this rotate, you can escape a little bit and you can kind of rotate around, but it is a difficult site to hold, especially on this top floor because of it. The more people you have, the easier it becomes. Roaming, again, a great option for this site, or you just become the anchor and lock it down. Use some echo drones, get active. Pushing up through these hallways with your teammates and some echo drones is very good. Or even, you know, hop on cams at the start of the round, figure out where they spawn. One guy came garage side, so I run over there with the cav. I get there, interrogate him early, GG, round easy. This third site, it's not one you should expect to win, but if you end up going to it, you might, because you've already won the other two. Hello there, welcome to Coastline. We're starting off on the hookah bomb site. Very classic bomb site we got here. Most people know the setup, and this one isn't any surprises. This one's pretty straightforward when it comes to site setup. Rotate on the far right. Make sure you do it far right against the wall. A lot of people might mess this up. I would even take less of the reinforcement out here, just like as small as you can that you can vault through it, because what this allows you to do is actually swing onto the planter, and you can actually see the planter here. So if he has a guy covering him, firstly, you can try to take the fight on the guy covering first, or you can just swing real wide, try to get him out before this guy actually picks you off, because you're also going to have holes on this side that he might be watching instead, which allows you to see for the plant from here. Very nice. And then you reinforce this middle wall. This goes both ways, so it covers you from aqua side, but if they're doing a hookah take, you can play on this side of it and still contest hookah balcony the same way. You know, hopefully you don't have 5 guys up at this point when you have to do this, because a guy on aqua balc is very, very strong for stopping you from doing that. So you reinforce the middle, make these lines of sight. You want to reinforce this too, otherwise a guy on 90 is blasting your cheeks from the 90 hallway. So reinforce this. What you can do though is make some head holes next to it. Reinforcement, reinforcement, good to go. Why? Because these protect you from the balcony. These reinforcements are for the balcony protection, so you can play this spot, one of the safest spots on this site. But beware, because if you're playing in this corner, they can technically open up this window and open up this wall and get a pixel onto you on vase. So you got to be careful if you're sitting here of that window, which a lot of people, you know, get caught off by that. Some traps, mute jammer, whatever on the staircase, so you can fight them when they're walking up, right? You're playing off your utility. You want to reinforce these 4 walls just so they don't come to the skylight and beam you. A lot of people will do this. This is good if you're in Pro League. I mean, this is good if you're like at the top ranks and you got really structured, you know, dynamic. If you don't, they're going to have someone sit on the roof and hold this, and one of your teammates is going to walk through and get shot in the back and die. So just reinforce all 4. Keep it simple, guys. Just reinforce those 4 walls. When it comes to Aqua, the setup's pretty straightforward. Probably just want to open the hatch. You can do footholes here, but you don't have to. You can do a rotate in a castle, but it's just extra work that doesn't matter. It doesn't change a whole lot. So you're opening the hatch. Maybe you're playing a shield back here. Maybe you're playing a Wamai, you know, or a Thorn, and you're playing off the info. You're playing aggressive on the balcony. It's a very small map, so you really got to fight for space. Now, what you could do is castle off these and then play luggage, which that can work. Otherwise, don't play luggage. You're going to die from the roof, and you're going to look like a moron. So kind of just hold Aqua. You hold the site. You hold hookah. Maybe a pink bar player, right? So he can swing over here. You can also stop the plant from here, but with the C4 or smoke, whatever, you can C4 below for plant too. I like to do some footholds if you have the time, some holds on the default plant, just so they're more skeptical for going for this, because then anyone underneath can stop the plant, not just the guy with the impacts or the C4. The final mark is VIP. A lot of people come VIP side. You can technically reinforce these 2 walls and just stops them from getting these really long lines of sight from VIP into the bomb site. So reinforcing these 2 is good. What I recommend even more is reinforcing the outer ones, pushing up and playing this space. And the way you do that is you make some footholds here. So if they come penthouse hatch, they drop into your one-way angles. You shoot them through the wall, as we've already learned. Mute is super fantastic for this. And then you just kind of rotate in and out of here. You can do a rotate here if you really want. You can do head holes onto 90 to hold like the 90 hall walk up, but most of the time you have too many guys over here and this is just going to get you killed, so I don't recommend it. If you want, you can barricade this. There's an upside and a downside. The upside is you can travel this hallway without getting shot from the roof until they open it. The downside is now they can ace or Hibana this wall for free, which you can technically just shoot off from here in VIP. Another good reason to hold this space. So that's your top floor horizontal hold. You can technically hold below too, play the C4s, barricade some doors, run around and play for kills, or you can just have your entire team spawn peek out every single doorway like 99% of Coastline matches actually go. But do the setup, it's going to help. Remember, these site setups aren't just for 5v5 situations. People will spawn peek, people will die. It's for every possible situation you might encounter. The more versatile and more aware and more prepared you are, the more you're going to win, regardless of the numbers on the team. So do the site setups, they will help all of the time, and it's worth doing because you're just basically giving the defense more advantage. For this kitchen site, how do we do that? We make a rotate by the B-bomb. Why are we doing it here? Because if we do it on the other side, they can shoot us from the doorway. So we reinforce this wall to stop them from locking down literally the entire site. I mean, this would be a crazy setup. One dude service, upside down repel, glass, holding the entire cross. Not good. Reinforce this wall. This is the most important piece of the entire setup, along with these kegs wall. Now, you can do all three. I recommend doing all three, unless you're really at higher ranks where you're holding the entire top floor, where you can make a rotate here. This allows you to support a lobby player. You probably won't have one anyway, so reinforce them all. Now, what you do want to do is make some footholds in service here, because you're not going to ever play in service. You're never going to play close up here behind this desk. It's just not a great option unless you reinforce this wall. But even then, one flashbang, one piece of utility, you're kind of pushed out, you're forced out, and they can just kill you as you run. So it's not ideal. The other thing about this, if you don't reinforce this, they can actually shoot you through this drone hole, which is why we don't make the footholds all the way along. We just do it to here, because that drone hole is a very, very strong angle, which you should be using this on your attack. You can get some free kills from this drone hole. You're basically prone on the other side of the stairs, and now look. All right, guy behind the desk, dead. If you know guys here, or people play here a lot, just wall bang this at the start through this drone hole, you might get a free kill. But you can see anyone pushed up as well, so this drone hole is very good for attackers. It's also why we don't want to play here. But this is basically just stopping them from walking all the way through. Now, you can also do footholds here because they can't plant until they cross this doorway. This basically shuts them down from planting in this corner if you have a guy playing in lobby. So the reason we do these footholds, and again, just reinforce the kegs wall. You don't need the open. If you play lobby desk, which gives you a lot of cover, you can take a lot of fights outside the doorway, but you can also hold this walk up, this push in, and you can contest kitchen. Not quite yet, but if you do some footholds along this wall, hold up, you're about to see some miracles happen. Playing lobby is great on this bomb site because now you can hold the walk through the kitchen door. That's that kitchen door right there. So you sit in lobby. A Rooney's really good for this. You know, you make your punch holes for the footholds. And now if they walk in, they can't fight back. They can't see the guy lobby. They're just getting shot right in the head through the wall. And then you can reinforce these two walls because these are the walls where, you know, you're going to be playing behind the A-bomb. If they have a guy in courtyard, these are the walls that actually matter because these are the ones they can shoot you from if they take courtyard. So you want to reinforce these two so you're safe to play beyond the A-bomb, which is really the strongest spot of the actual bomb site because you can use all these really nasty angles off the bomb to peek into sunrise, but you can also use it to protect yourself from kitchen window. So you're protected from kitchen window, you take the fights one at a time, which is really what you're looking to do. But be careful, that service door is another threat. So if they have a guy service, they have a guy kitchen window, and they have sunrise control, they have actually a pretty strong push on you, right? Because there's nowhere real safe for you to play besides like this now. So you're kind of forced back a bit. Now you have to play the bomb from here, but a guy on the kitchen window can now hop in and go for this plant right in this tuck corner. But that's when your C4 smokes or whatever come out. So you got a lot of layers to this one. It does get tough, but it is a very good way to set up the bomb site. The other thing I recommend doing is maybe extending out into Sunrise Bar because you have the extra reinforcements. You can do these two. You can make some head holes here just to contest the walk-through office. Maybe barricade this, put some barbed wire or something. You can reinforce the hatch. A lot of people aren't going to clear you that way. But if you want to stop them from taking mud, again, these footholds are so strong on this map. You make more footholds, guys. They hop in the window. Well, now you have a one-way on them to the footholds. They go through the door, you have a one-way from the footholds. So you're playing this couch, shooting them as they walk in, right, using the footholds, and then you just have to be aware of them walking through blue or coming down your staircase. Even a barricade here also works well, but you can see from their POV, like, I can't see this guy until I cross to the doorway, whereas he can see me that entire time. Same thing for this, right? So very, very strong way to set up this room at least, and that also applies to, you know, if you want to defend blue bar, which we're not going to talk about in this video, but, and then you got your footholds over here. A lot of footholds, a lot of good stuff. Lastly, we got Penthouse and Theater. Blue bar is just not the it's not a bad choice, but it's not the one people pick. People pick Theater and what is it? Penthouse. Penthouse Theater, this is the one. So again, footholds for the drop is great. Castle does work well here if you castle this, because basically they're falling into a box if you castle this, where you're just shooting all their legs from here. And then castling big window is also really good, because they can get up on this building with like a Chalet or glass and lock down a long line of sight. So this site's a little tougher to defend just because there's so many direct options, like through Hall of Fame door. But you want to make sure you reinforce these walls. Keeping these shut is the best case scenario. So you bring the Bandit or the Kate or the Tubero, but if they have the Maverick, you're pretty much cooked. So banning Maverick's not a bad idea. But if you do it rotate into site, you basically want to extend out into VIP. VIP is how you hold the bomb site. So by extending out into VIP, doing some head holes, putting a reinforcement here, now they can't just go and plant for free. Whereas if you reinforce all of this off, they can clear you out from the big window pretty easily with, just a little bit of utility. But because you have this reinforcement, you can play off of it and actually contest the walk into site, the big window repel in, and if you're a smoke, you can smoke deep enough to actually stop that plant, because this is one of the strongest spots. You go direct with a Capital, a Glass, a Ying, whatever, and then you can plant here. Also a great spot for a C4 from below. Hello, Valk players. Hello, C4 owners. Put a C4 here. Oh, no, plant for you. Now they have to go deep and they have to do a whole lot more work. Reinforcing these back white walls is a great option. I think that's actually the best option. And just like Villa, we're going to do these footholds along the walk up and then reinforce the other two. So if they want to take this, they have to walk past these footholds first, which, ends up with us shooting them as they walk up. And then you want to reinforce this wall too. This is the last one I'd recommend. There's two ways to do this. You can either play this hallway, hold all this space over here, which a lot of people like to do. I like to just do footholds though. So basically if they try, that's even a little too much, but if they try to come in hookah, you can put a shield here and hold this whole hallway from here. But if you open this, the problem is they can see all the way back to your theater door and even into theater from outside. So instead of opening this, I like to reinforce it. But if you're going to hold way over there, you can reinforce it and play these head holes, which actually allows you to contest the breach and hold VIP from here, which is just like another layer to the setup. Last thing I will say is you can do footholds on this side as well and reinforce this. Same sort of idea here. You're playing back, you're holding the push up the hallway with the footholds, or you reinforce them both off so you have this nice little safe position in the corner where you can kind of stop them from taking VIP, Hall of Fame, and then you can even contest like this default plant from here too. So you're kind of extending out, you're holding VIP, and you're going through the site and stopping some of these really powerful positions with your holes. Last thing is, you could do something like this, some head holes or something. It's just another good spot to throw a C4 from if they are going for that front plant, and you can stop the plant from there too. All right, we're here on Bank next, and Bank is a lot different from a lot of the other maps because there's so many long angles. However, we still want to open some stuff up sometimes. So if we reinforce this wall and reinforce these two walls, this just makes it so they can't just basically use this staircase as a head glitch to look all the way through sight. Because they can also technically open this shelf. You don't want to open this shelf. This is just good cover for you. You can open it though if you know they're going for like these window takes, and then you can kind of play from here and kind of stop them from planting. So you can, but I don't recommend it just because it gives you a little bit more cover. So reinforce these, reinforce head holes. Now you can stop the square walk-in. There is one big choke point on this map for the top floor, and that's outside of square. Firstly, let's get these rotates in. You just basically want to be able to flow through the sites. If you can only push the sites through the sites this way, what's the problem? Well, all the windows can see you, and there's no safe way to get through. But if you can rotate like this, now you can peek them one at a time. You can stop any plants over here or whatever. You can also contest square technically if you open this a little more. But playing janitor is actually great. So you can reinforce both of these if you really want. Downside, they can open this wall and then plant right here without you being able to stop them from janitor. Let's get back to this square talk for a second. You can't play anywhere over here. Playing over here is silly. It's bad. You're probably dead because they can play all these repels upside down, lower. You're just basically shooting tiny targets. Meanwhile, you're in the middle of the open, so it's not ideal. If there's nobody on the windows, this is a great spot to play because now you can contest and get aggressive on anyone on this balcony, and most people just stand here and try to worry about the next threat. Problem with that is if you hold stock, which is a really good spot to hold, firstly, you're going to hold the hop-ins from over here. So if they try to hop in, you have these footholds on them. But then you reinforce these two walls. You put a shield here or something to hold square, so you have some cover. If you don't reinforce these, they can just basically sit on these windows outside. And they can just basically hold this entire hallway. It's also why Ace is really good on this site. Well, at least on this side, because you can basically open this wall too into meeting, and you have a super long angle into sight where there's already so many long angles that the defenders have to worry about. So reinforce these off. You can play a zombie in here or something, but you can also play pretty aggressive. Like, You can put beepers outside. You can put Fenrir mines outside. You can castle both of these and then punch one 8 times, put a beeper outside and open the square door. What are they going to be doing? They see that these are castled. They're like, okay, I don't have to worry about my back. That can only get pushed from here. The attacker's outside this. They hit the beeper right here. Beep, beep, beep. And you punch the window and they instantly die and you kill their entire team. It's magnificent. This is where Rooney is so good. This is one of the best sites in the game for Rooney because from this B-bomb, you can post up with the DMR and if they walk in, you know, you're just smoking them off this every day of the week because they're completely in the open and they're peeking right into your angle. Most important reinforcements on the site are these two. Why? Because if they open these walls, they can basically just look down the entire hallway from this rappel and annihilate your entire team. Habana DMR, extremely strong on this if you want to get some action in. Now, you can't really play lobby. Too many drone spots. Drones can be literally anywhere. They can peek you from the skylights. They can get on all these windows rappels. They can come loan office. They can get on these rappels. They can get on these rappels. You're just dead basically anywhere you go, unless you're like a vigil. And even then, still a little risky. But it is a good spot to take out players on the rappel if nobody is holding ATM. So if they don't have an attacker here and nobody's actually working lobby, it's a great way to just pick off people on the rappel, especially if you're a vigil, because any drones aren't going to see you coming, and then you're probably going to get a bit of an advantage in that. Barbed wire here, you know, because you still want to play up in this area. Careful of all the rappels. Barricading all these windows is a great option. The other thing you can do is you can castle off these double windows and like this window, for example, because this is a really long line of sight to that north rappel. Something you could use. I mean, honestly, if you're attacking on bank, just holding really long angles works so often because there's literally so many the defenders are exposed to as they walk through here. It's also why I recommend going here second, because then you can ban Habana and the ace, and then they can't open these really long lines of sight on top of it. Next, you're going to want to make like a little rotate here if you have the time. I mean, there's a lot of setup on this. This just basically lets you rotate in and out of here without having to expose yourself to these window rappels to actually get around. So keep that in mind. And then you're going to want some sort of traps or info, barbed wire, thorn trap, Fenrir on the light here. So they can't just get up here and just hold you in. These are really strong angles for the attackers. So stopping them from taking it is going to be important. And lastly, if you have the extra walls, you can reinforce these. It really depends what you got at this point. Or you can even reinforce this one. This one's probably even more important because then you can actually hold the janitor door from here too if you have to give it up. I love when this happens and the board just exists forever. But you can basically hold the doorway from this reinforcement as well. And then this also stops them if they're in stock from just spraying through this wall and getting long lines of sight. So you're basically just trying to stop them from getting all of the super broken long lines of sight. And the other thing you do, if you want mid-round, is drop this hatch. You know they're in stock. You go for the C4. Boom, they're dead. You get a free kill, and then you can rotate back up marble and start to fight the stock side again, because a lot of people will take square here, but a lot of people will sit here and hold angles like this, or they'll hold angles like this, and they'll just try to like stay alive and wait for swings and bait, and then that's when you get some easy C4 kills. So but yeah, that's the top floor. Welcome to my basement, folks. We're on the basement, which is, you know, this is a very tough site to defend because there's so many different areas the attack can come from, which makes it hard. But if we play some of the choke points and play some of the power positions, make it a lot easier. So firstly, connect the bomb sites, baby. Now you could argue that you want to do this one vault. I don't really mind it standing because what you can do is you can play in a site and then fall off to here once they get the hatch. The only problem is they can drop the hatch and technically push through this, but they're still pushing into a lot of different angles and it's not the end of the world. What you will want to do is make some head holes here, and then you'll want to reinforce this wall. You can reinforce this, but you don't have to, and that'll just basically let you fight some of these server angles. But if you open up these walls too, now you can play a guy in garage with like a DMR, and he can stop this default plant. You can actually stop the guy that plants right here on the spot from here in garage. Plus you can contest these long angles through DMR too. If you actually hop on the cams and play this spot, you can hear a knock who's walking through here if you sit on this camera. Chances are if it's been like 2 minutes in the round, they're probably not coming garage, so you don't have to worry about it. But even just a beeper or some sort of trap to know they're there is good. But that choke point is pushing in under this railing, so playing something like this or even prone on the wheel is usually the best way to completely stop them from taking that. You gotta be careful with like a glass or something, I guess. Now, you want some barbed wire or something on this main stairs for if they walk down, you know, they're exposing themselves to this door and this door at the same time. Making just some head holes here allows you to actually get this one way on the staircase. So if they do come from main stairs, you're just winning this fight every single day of the week. Now, in the prep phase, you need to get the hatches. There's 5 hatches, and you want to get all of them most of the time. Elevator hatch, lobby hatch, 2 in open area. So you have the one here and the one in the closet. And if you're the guy getting the hatch and you happen to have a shotgun, secondary shotgun, primary shotgun, open up these top floor hatches. This is going to send a signal to the other team that they might have someone on the top floor that could flank us at any time. And they're going to have to take more time to care for it. But if they don't and you have roamer, he's going to shoot them all on the top of the head. So reinforcing this is good. And if you want to play in open, this actually works really well as a roam game. You make some footholds here to stop them from hopping in the window. Footholds for if they walk across into janitor here, or electrical, whatever that's called. And then you can basically play here and stop these pushes. And then you can even add like a reinforcement, some traps, whatever. Barricade your lobby side. And you can waste time here, even opening the hatches to fall off. So if you really invest in the roam, opening this hatch is great because you can obviously hold server from here. You can stop that default plant. You just can't stop the plant around that tuck corner. Now the last one is the server hatch, and I have a strong opinion on this. If you're going to play server and hold server, reinforce this hatch. If nobody on your team is, open it. Why? Because now they can't do a direct server take. If they try to go direct for server and this hatch is open, they're exposing themselves to this potential flank the entire time while they're playing in server, which is really good if they're trying to go for this default plant, because now they have to worry about it literally all the time. You can flank it from the 3rd floor. It's a really good flank route, and it takes a lot of pressure off server. But if you are playing server, you reinforce this. You can actually break this pipe, put some traps down, some barbed wire. A smoke's really good here. A barbed wire, play a shotgun, whatever. You can play it really close. They can't open vertical on you. They basically have to get this hatch to clear you out properly, as long as you're not peeking into their like super strong pixel angle. So you sit here, you play this, a thorn, whatever. You can stop the Monty. The smoke is great because he deals with the shields too. And then you can also play the staircase, another choke point, great with like some Jaeger ADSs. A smoke shield here is good. You can waste time on this doorway. Then you can fall off and you can still pressure it from here. You can do Denari trips on the staircase for when they walk down, you know. You hear them hit the trip, boom, they're dead, whatever. And then you want to reinforce these 2 walls. Some people do leave this soft, which can be, this is okay. You can leave this soft, just adds more potential threats as they walk into server. So if they are trying to take server and they're trying to, you know, get into the safe spot on the rack, they have to cross all these lines of sight to actually get into a safe spot. And then the wall's open, so they can't actually play here safely. So they're kind of stuck like holding angles. If they try to move around, they're very restricted. If you do have this hatch reinforced, a Kate is good because you can kind of play off the bomb, you know, contest server. You have all these really strong angles. You can even hold like dirt early on, or even get a weird vault angle they might not be ready for. You know, you always see the Goyos and stuff here, which is great. 1 Twitch drone, it's all gone. 1 grenade off a door frame, it's going to get most of them. 1 fuse charge on this wall also will get them all. So Goyo can work, but you're going to have to waste time in other areas first in order to actually get value out of them. So if you're not holding server, I think the Goyo might be a bit of a troll pick. But biggest problem is if they open all the hatches and they're taking server and they're taking your garage, now they can drop back and hit you with the pinch as well. If you really want, you can do a rotate here too. This just helps if they do a backside take, but most of the time it's not going to really do anything anyway. One last thing, if you want to make some head holes here, this just allows you to throw your smokes or like Tachanka fire easier. You can't reach a C4 from back here, so this is only if you're playing the smoke or Tachanka, but you can get some really nice angles like with a DMR, for example, all the way into server from here, or even if you have those head holes, right, you can play something like this, just hold that server rack. So it can be good. Again, you got to worry about garage, so having the garage player is really, really important here. Moving on to my favorite bomb site on Bank, it's open area and staff room. Why is it my favorite? Because it's the easiest. It's just the most simple. There's not a ton of long range angles that are going to get your cheeks clapped. You just set it up and have a nice time. What you want to do here, make a rotate into admin office, little boy office here. Why? Because now you can get to the site besides the only other direction, which is the double door. The other thing we can do is you can do a rotate here, and you can actually reinforce this wall if you have enough reinforcements, which basically just allow you to hold this kitchen walk-in a lot safer. If you're on attack and you can take into here, if you can get to here on attack and plant the bomb, you're in a nearly like unlosable position. You have really strong angles. You can play it from all the way back on server stairs. It's just really good. So you want to stop them from doing that. How do you do that? Well, you play in here. Basically, you play here or you play on this reinforcement. You stop them from crossing. Some cap can traps on the right side always go hard on this one. We do some footholds here for the same reason as the basement site. And we want to reinforce all 4 of these. Some people will open this. I only recommend doing this if you have people playing archives. Otherwise, the attack is just going to use it against you. So just reinforce it off. Now, if you do reinforce those 4, also reinforce these. 1, 2, 3. All right, so you got 7 reinforcements, 8, 9. Okay, don't do this wall then. Don't do this wall. Don't do this wall unless you're making like you're holding this, because if you do this wall, you don't have enough for the hatches, and the hatches are the most important. The corner hatch and this hatch even more importantly. If you keep these closed, you're safe to play in these spots. Now you can't open this hatch, but they can lurk down in the basement and look up it. So I would only open it when you're ready to actually hit a flank. Let's say they're working kitchen really heavy. I can open this up, drop, and then come up those server stairs for a flank, which works really well. But basically what we're doing here, we're reinforcing this so they can't get the long angles from the site window. You reinforce that. You can contest this with some barbed wire in the footholes, and then you can hold like the hallway pushes from here. You have maybe a roamer upstairs or lobby side. or even in archives, and then you can do a rotate out if you want. You could do this. The only problem with this is if your roamer dies archives, now the other team can use this hole to, you know, clear you out of the site and actually push in from as well, which just gives them more pressure and more space to use against you. So reinforce all these walls, in my opinion, reinforce the 2 hatches, and then reinforce this and make your footholds, and you're pretty much good to go. You've pretty much locked down open the best possible way. You can even go for C4s if they try to take vertical. A lot of people will ram these windows, so ram is going to be a great ban because she can just do it from outside really safely. If you want to roam, you know, you could hop on the Scopos, play the top floor, waste as much time, waste drones, get a pick or 2, use those impacts, be annoying, you know, use your fist to punch through a barricade when the ram hits here, and then just beam her down, and then you can just teleport away. Hardest part about that, though, there's so many damn angles on this top floor, so if you are going to do it, there's a lot of ways you can die from, right? All the repels, the lobby repels, the skylight repels. I even died to a guy sitting on here, holding my rotate and killing me from the skylight, which I didn't even realize. Like, I impacted through it, and then I went to go through it and fight the guy square, and he's sitting on the roof holding this. Like, there's just so many dumb angles on this map, which is why it's so hard to defend. If you can defend it, it's gonna be a whole lot easier, right? Lair can seem like an intimidating map, but it's really not that tough once you know how to do it. Make some head holes in this wall. This lets you hold the push in through the breach from some safe spots. You know, you can even contest this main plant from here, which it is a tough C4, but smoke, again, smoke is so good for stopping plants, even though most rounds won't come down to a plant. So don't focus on that too much, but just in case you have these head holes, it's just the way you want to do it. Now, this is the main wall. You want to reinforce this. Just don't give them main direct routes into site for free. Reinforce it. Cade Bandit, also going to be really fabulous. The way that you hold operational depends on what your team is doing. First, we're going to go with what absolutely makes sense every single time, which is a rotate back here and a rotate into site over here as well. So we've connected the bomb sites again in another way where we don't have to feed through a single doorway because we don't want to get cut off by that. But this allows us to basically get in here. You do have to be careful of the hallway here, which is why I also recommend reinforcing this wall that I just shotgunned open, because then they can't just hold your rotate as easily. They can still technically hold this, but here's the problem with that. As an attacker, and this is why it's important to think about the things that we're doing, if I'm holding this like this, what's the problem? Well, I'm also exposed to the other site, and I'm also exposed to anybody who's playing up on these angles. Like, they should know you're here, and they should be ready to fight you. And if you're going to peek into that, you're probably going to die. Or you have a guy sitting like this, and then you walk up to the corner like, oh, I'm going to hold the rotate. And the guy here with a shotgun blasts your cheek. So it's not a smart move, which is why these rotates actually work. Most people just reinforce these off, and that's what I'd recommend. That's absolutely fine. You can also technically do a rotate through, and then you can play out in this hallway to contest the pushes in. But I think it's easier just to make some footholds here. So if they do want to take in there, they just can't play as safely, and you can kind of hold this hallway even earlier on if you want. It's not really best case scenario, because remember, if you are an attacker and you're holding this, you know, if I come around the corner, I'm going to see you on the ground there, and you're probably going to lose that fight. So it's not the smartest option, but the footholds just make things a little bit, just add a little bit of pressure to that. Biggest and most important is this window. This is one of the best spots to attack if it's free. A lot of people neglect this window, which is just a bunch of free space, a really easy way into the map that you can contest the site. Grim, Gridlock, really good for this. So what we do instead is we make some head holes here. We reinforce this wall. This is also a great spot for Amira because you can see all the way to the main breach. So you can play Amira back here if she's up, which is nice. But you can also put some barbed wire and some traps here and just basically swing off it when they try to vault through. The other thing you want to do, just some footholds for main stairs. So if they try to walk up main stairs, you have these angles onto them. A lot of people will try to do this, which again, this is a nice spot for the attackers. Why? Tons of cover. You're in the middle of the open. They can technically actually use these holes against you a little bit too, but it is definitely defender sided still. But when they try to walk through, you know, you could be in the corner of the bathroom or something as well. The rest of the site is as it should be. We're good to go. How do we want to hold this? A couple options. Firstly, you can open this side of the wall. If you do this, two good things about it. You put a reinforcement here. Now you can play off this reinforcement and hold the doorway. So you can hold the doorway, but you can also swing this side, right? If you reinforce this one and open this head holes, well, now you can't play here as easily because now you're exposed to the doorway and you don't have as much cover. And if they open this window on you, which a lot of people will, they can actually stand outside on this balcony and hold an angle onto this. Now, if you overpeak just a little bit, you just got your head blown off. So you got to be careful if you're going to do it this way. And you kind of have to play it back, but it is still a little bit risky. Plus, you can get drone hold from outside. So I prefer it like this with reinforcement and then head holes. The downside of that, we always got to be measuring our upsides and downsides. If they push from this way, Well, firstly, they can rappel here, so they can actually hold the doorway, so be very cautious if you're going to swing that. But what happens now is once they get operational, now they can hold this long angle all the way down the hallway, and they can kind of contest the hallway. So that's the downside, but if you're ready for it, it's very, very strong. A zombie in here is great. Alibi is great. You know, you can get a lot of trick plays with that, but we also want to be able to stop them from taking this main breach. Now, there's two ways to do this. We can do head holes here and reinforcement here, or other way around. I think the reinforcement here makes more sense. Why? Two reasons. Firstly, if we're playing these head holes, we can play the reinforcement from back, so that way we're not exposed to the head holes on the left side, right? This is all reinforced. But then you can also peek the breach the right way, so you can peek it, you know, in order from left to right, so you're kind of pushing everyone off the breach, and they can't sit super far back unless they're like on the other side of that window, which is unlikely. So you can kind of hold this space pretty easily. And then the other thing is, if this is reinforced, and let's say they don't go for the main breach, your teammate can support you from here to fight them as they push through operational on you. So they could hold something like this, and if you're staying alive on that reinforcement, they kill the guy as he's walking up on you, which is a little complex, but it does work very well. The other thing is, if you lose operation control and this is reinforced, we can just pop the other reinforcement and then play this and force them into the doorway, into this crossfire, where they're now walking into a crossfire from here, here, and here all at the same time. So keeping the breach shut, super, super strong. But let's say you don't get the reinforcement off. They take operational, and they have an ash. Well, now they can ash this wall, which is fine, because if they ash this wall, they can just get in and plant. Let me show you the difference here. So this is why reinforcing this wall is so good, because if they just get here, they can just basically sneak up and plant the bomb right here. But at least by forcing them to come in through this wall, now look what they're exposed to as they come through. They're exposed to the desk and the holes. So if they come through here, your best bet is actually being behind this desk, holding the breach like this. Whereas if they can open the other wall, you're completely in the open holding this, and they're probably just going to win that gunfight on you. So reinforcement here, you're good to go. That's the top floor Lair. The basement of Lair is a whole other story. This is actually one of my favorite bomb sites in the game to defend. I just find it so fun. Of course, we got to make a rotate between the two sites. There's no reason I really do in the middle. I mean, most of the time it's just your team doing this. You can also do it right side and reinforce, just because they can technically get angles from the hatch onto this. So keep that in mind. If you want to reinforce and do it right, it's probably a little bit safer, but again, they can still look through the hatch here. That's up to you. It's pretty niche. Reinforce the hatch, don't open it. That would be silly. Some traps here or something, because a lot of people try to lurk in from here. A mute jammer also works. This isn't pro league, people. We're reinforcing the filtration walls. A Rooney Gate, trap, mute jammer, all really good. Goyo, really good there. You can extend out and actually hold this staircase. It gets kind of crazy though. But for now, reinforcement, rotate. That's what you got to keep in mind. And then traps, and then reinforcement here. Now, a lot of people mess this up. You want to make a rotate right in the middle. Right in the middle of this wall. Make a rotate. Why? What does this rotate do for us? Okay, well, we can clearly support the site push from here, which is nice. We want to stop them from walking into the bomb site. We don't want to be too aggressive. You can do this, but it's a little risky. It's easier just to hold a passive angle, right? Because when they walk in the door, if they're over here, look at what they can do. Let me show you something real quick. They can check every angle one at a time, right? Look, if I'm an attacker, this is how I peek this, right? I'm peeking every angle, so I'm actually getting a 50-50 onto you on that angle, right? The problem is, once I walk in, what am I exposed to now? Now I'm exposed to this, where you may be, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. So now I have a like 1 in 5 chance of picking the right thing. And I'm probably not going to be checking this weird ass off angle, right? That's why off angles are so strong and why it's so good. So anyway, you make the rotate here, you reinforce the hatch, and you're going to want to extend out into missiles. So you want to reinforce this off. And if you can, you want to extend out all the way to garage. This is similar to the border strategy, where you reinforce this, you shoot a couple drones, you fall off to another room, you careful the window, or you start here, you shoot a couple drones, and you fall off to another room. You're basically layering your setup. And if you do some footholds here, now all of a sudden it's a little scary if I'm an attacker. I don't really want to walk in through here to fight this guy barrels, because if I do, I could have a guy on the other side of lockers just blasting me through the wall as I do it. So the real power positions here, you just start a little bit of time wasted, you bandit this or something, or you play a mute jammer here, they don't have a hard breach, whatever. Now all of a sudden I have this power position on this hallway where if you're pushing up this, you're pushing into a shotgun, or you're pushing into an SMG-11 or whatever, or you're pushing into something where this drone holds mute and you don't drone, this guy's prone behind the desk and he shoots you in the back. Or I do that, shoot a drone, and then I fall off again because you open this wall and now you're pushing into a shotgun again. Wow, it's so good. Or you have a million denarii trips here and you're forcing your way through 2 doors. Reinforce this wall, by the way. You have this open, not good. A lot of long, strong lines of sight for them, so reinforce that wall. And there you go. There's your basement Lair setup. Just very basic, but very, very effective. My best recommendation for this entire video is to start going bunks and briefing instead of weapons. I think weapons is a terrible site. Maybe I'm wrong about that. If you have to go one, I would go this one, and I'm going to show you how to do the setup for it. What are we doing, guys? Oh, what? No way. Poxonlox connects the bomb sites with a rotate. Wow, who would have thought? It's like we do that all the time. It's actually so good. Do it. Reinforce your 2 walls here. This just leads into this like lobby area. You just don't want them to be able to open this. This is also a really strong position on defense to hold this doorway because you have so much cover. You know, you can see 4 from here. You can swing off traps, whatever. And then you want to reinforce these 2 walls as well. Basically just force them into coming into this choke point, and then they're peeking into all these really gross angles. The other nice part about this rotate on this side is you can hold the breach. So if they open up this main outer wall, which you'll want to reinforce as well, you can hold it from here. So now when they're pushing in, again, so many angles onto them. If you want, you can reinforce this, or you can just do like some head holes or something. Yeah, I guess you could make head holes here, or just even 1 hole, just so you can, again, hold this, depending on which side they push. Realistically, though, if they're on this breach, they're probably opening up this wall anyway. I guess reinforcing this does help the guy over there, so maybe reinforce it. I mean, it doesn't change a whole lot. This guy can still play safely from back here. So, like, he's still not exposed if he's back here, which is fine. So you can reinforce it, you can do whatever. It's not really the deepest, worst case scenario. Mute jammer on this door, something is good. But the real strength of this site comes from holding above. So basically you can set up almost the same way as you do on the top floor site, but then you have all these vertical holes, you know, wherever they are, to hold the main breach. Because most people will just try to push from the main breach. It's direct, it's easy, it's nice. You know, or they'll hop in this window where you have like potential roamers. But if you're holding up top, you probably want to reinforce the hatch unless you plan on dropping down. Playing this with your life is usually the best case scenario. You can basically stop this. You can also play over here and stop the other push through this doorway from above, right? So if you have all this set up like you did before, where maybe you're holding up or you have traps and info over there and you reinforce this, now you can play all these vertical holes, stop them from pushing in, and it's very, very strong. That's the idea of the top floor hold. Pretty simple, but pretty effective, and a lot of people don't know how to attack the site anyway. You can also extend out into security, a Rooney gate, traps, whatever, stop them from taking this door, because if they can't take this door, you can also contest the breach a little bit. I mean, you can even... I've actually never done this, but you probably could. Yeah, you could C4 over and kill the guy on the breach if they're not focused on you over here, which they should be if they're not dumb. So that's a good way. Actually, that might be a good way to get a free kill. Oh, hold up. I'm actually cooking something right now. What if... I'm going to try this in my rank game next time I do it. What if we make a rotate here? We do this, and then we can basically escape out easily. And then you have like sentries, so you put some barbed wire here. And then you maybe barricade this, or you barbed wire this, and then they can't sneak up behind you. That could work too. That's not bad. But anyway, if you want to play in here, you can also reinforce these walls and then use this door as the choke point. It's just a little bit riskier because they can get head glitches on these stairs and push this hallway pretty easily. And then you could always like fall off. So this is a good way just to contest, shoot a couple drones, and then give it up. And that's basically the premise of this this tertiary site. It's time for Consulate. I like Consulate. It's okay. It's all right. We're going to start off with some head holes here. Now, do we have the bomb sites connected? Well, we have one way, which is actually okay because there's not really any way they can cut this off outside of this bathroom window, which is very risky for them to do. So we actually don't need to connect these bomb sites, but by opening these holes, we can actually stop any pushes coming in from Oreo. Is this what this is called? I don't know any other names for it. But we'll reinforce both these off because if we don't, they can actually get these really strong angles from outside of bathroom onto this corner too. So you want to reinforce this off so the bathroom isn't completely locking you down. So you reinforce this, and this also allows you, if you make a hole or something like that, you can actually throw smokes deep. Smoke is fantastic on the site, especially Tachanka too. One of the best Tachanka sites. You can Tachanka off this to stop the default plant, or even off the right side of this flag here. Shout out Fett, that's where I learned that from. What I like to do too though is just make these footholds. Oh, sorry. Make these holes in the floor. Now, if they want to plant anywhere here, again, we can stop the plant from below. And what I also love to do, just one little hole right here for if they try to hop in this window without droning it. That's an easy, easy kill. Bathroom's going to be important to set up because the way it is now, the problem is the attackers can kind of just walk in here. You know, they don't have to worry about a whole lot, and then they can just kind of walk through. But we can make them worry about a little bit more by opening up some head holes here and then reinforcing this wall. This just gives us a safe position to play in bathroom where we can kind of contest this walkthrough. You can even like do something like this if you really want it, which is kind of crazy, and just wait for the vault through. But you can also kind of hold this bathroom window a little bit from here. It's a little risky because you are kind of exposed, whereas they can you know, use the cover of the windowsill. But if you're like this, you know, the chances are if they don't drone it, they're not going to be ready for it. They might do something like this, and then you're just in the corner, surprise, and then they're dead. But again, we reinforce this so they can't use that. One other thing we want to do for yellow, a lot of people make this mistake, very, very common, is they reinforce this wall. Don't reinforce this wall. open the top of it. Why would we do that? Why would we make it easier for them to take? They can just open it. They can just ash it open and walk in, right? Well, yeah, they can, but they're probably going to get yellow stairs anyway. You're not really holding onto yellow stairs. This is not the choke point. The choke point is this wall here. But what this does is if they don't take yellow, now anyone on this bathroom ledge is exposed to here. Anyone trying to work this spiral window is also not safe. So opening these head holes actually stops them from being able to do a lot. And at the same time, we're holding this choke point from here anyway, because this skylight is going to be dangerous if we're trying to play this area. Now, you can technically post up here with like a shotgun, and you could reinforce this and do some weird setup that way. It's just not great because you're trapped from the skylight, and it's just going to be a lot more difficult. Now, what I do recommend is you can start down here for sure. You can start the round down here and see if anyone just rushes through this doorway. Great spot for a cav. They come in running, just boom, shotgun to the chest, free kill from a guy that doesn't drone. Happens all too often. And you just run back up to site, and you're very, very safe to do that if you do it early in the round. We'll want to reinforce this outer wall to stop them from getting it for free. There's two options if you want to do this. The first is to do footholes all the way along it. And I do like this because what you can do is you can basically see all the way to admin. So they're trying to peek into this. You actually have a pretty good gunfight where you can see them and they can't see you. However, you're not able to play here safely now if this is open. So reinforcing it actually gives you the cover to play in this corner, which basically stops them from going for this plant, which is a very, very strong plant as well. Again, smokes, Tachanka, Goyo, great ways to shut it down. You can also even open the floor here. I mean, there's always more holes that you can make to help you. The problem is you don't have all the time in the world. So really you just want to stick to the rotates and the head holes and the foot holes, and then worry about the floor holes if you have enough time. But something like this, you can hold main door even from here. So the walk into lobby, which is great. Or even something like this where, you know, they're trying to get the bandits off, but you're already holding it when they walk through. The only last thing I will say is you should probably reinforce this. So if they get into the control here, they can't just hold you into sight. Some barbed wire on the staircase. And if you really want, and you have the time, and you have the setup, and you have the people, make a rotate here. Reinforce these three walls because this is a very, very strong angle, which you should use on your attacks if they don't reinforce this. If you see people aren't reinforcing this, or they are, you know, you play the ace, you play the Bana, you can repel all the way upside down on this admin repel and lock down this entire hallway from making a hole in this wall here. So reinforcing this is really strong so that they can't do this. But the other thing that you can do is you can actually C4 over, which I always stick my C4 to the roof because I haven't tried it very many times, but you can C4 over and actually C4 the guy that repels in the window from here too. So if it's reinforced, you're safe to play that and do it that way. So you extend out admin, waste some time. I mean, there's always more holes we can make. For example, you want to kill the guy that walks up the Visa stairs every round. There you go. You got some vertical holes. He's going to go trying to punch the barbed wire. He's not going to drone it. You're going to be sitting here and you're going to shock him in the top of the head. Too many times have I done that, and it works pretty much every single time. Next up is the basement. Very classic, of course. First things first, connect those bomb sites, people. Making this rotate just allows you to rotate back and forth. Of course, if the breach is open, it adds some risk, but you can still peek the breach from here, which is nice if you have this wall open. So it establishes those crossfires. Again, if this breach is open and this is shut and this is all shut, we don't have to worry as much about this corner because we can clear it out very safely. But if there's constantly the threat of someone rotating in here, we can't just walk in at any time once we know all of this side of the map is clear, because that will just allow us to fight this guy and take this space. So opening this actually pressures the breach quite a lot. Now the other thing you want to do is make some head holes here and reinforce this wall. This basically just lets you hold yellow push. So if you have the reinforcement there, you can pull pixels off of it, but you can also hold an angle like this for when they walk in, against the passive angle. And if you do it the other way around, it's a little risky because now yellow can basically hold a huge crossfire all the way through kitchen. So they basically pin you into kitchen. At the same time, you can't watch the breach anymore. So these holes don't actually help you now because they can just run in the breach and plant. But the other way around, again, we can add more pressure to the breach. We can C4 over if they're going for the plant on the bomb. And there's a lot we can do to add pressure to the attack by just making these holes. Reinforce the walls, guys. Reinforce the outer walls. If you want, you can make shotgun holes over. This is another way to get some easy kills. Just a C4 over the wall, which will land basically outside and kill anybody who's trying to run up. You can also do it over the middle, which will land here on this green box and kill the thermite or the hard breacher. So two other great C4 lineups. You can also just make some head holes here, which I do recommend, and reinforce this. This is a great spot for Amira if you reinforce it from inside, because you can peek the breach. You can also hold yellow from here. Very, very strong. And then you want to make a rotate into kitchen. Again, just connecting our system. We have a flowing system now, right? And then we can also do a rotate into pillar. Do have to be careful with this one. You can do it on this side, but you have to just be aware, because if you're playing pillar, which is a very strong position, you're not exposed to vertical control. So this is one of the few positions that actually stops them from pushing in the breach and keeps this crossfire alive. But if you have the rotate, they can walk behind and kill you. You know that your team's not holding this. Don't make the rotate, or at least reinforce this wall so they can't walk up and shoot you. But if you have this reinforced like this, now you can peek the breach and you can retake into pillar, which is really good because it's such a strong spot, which also allows you to hold this choke point close on the door as long as they don't have vertical play. Because we're opening this, because we're holding it this way, the last thing we need to do is put some barbed wire for spiral, maybe make some footholds for break. You can do this, you know. You can also just not do that so that you could potentially sit in that corner. Reinforce the back hatches, reinforce this wall, because if they get this control, now they just have these really strong angles into kitchen, and then they're basically funneling into this doorway and also this back doorway here, this back hallway. This is a great spot for some cap cans, but basically they have to push all the way up in the middle of the open. One way I really like to counter this, I mean, you can reinforce this so they're kind of forced to go the long hallway. One way I really like to counter this is firstly a mirror on this wall. If you have a mirror here, you can basically just swing off of it. But the other thing I like to do on this wall, which I just blew out so you can't see it, but I'll do it on this wall to show you, is you can do like 5 or 6 punch holes. You can make a bunch of crouch and standing punch holes like this. And now what happens is when this guy walks up the hallway, pretend this is on this side, right? When he walks up the hallway, he just sees a bunch of punch holes. He doesn't know which one I'm standing on. So if you peek into something like this, you just kind of have to start spraying. Meanwhile, I'm on one of the 7 punch holes and you're probably going to guess wrong, which basically allows me to just do this, wait for the guy to walk up, and then I'm going to win the fight because he's pushing into my angle. So this is a little trick play that you can do on this back hallway too. So that's pretty much it. If you want to hold above, it can work very well, but there's some more specific strategies for that I'm not going to talk about. But, you know, break the pipe, put some barbed wire here. Now you have info if they're actually pushing this way. And you, again, you can play close and swing with a shotgun, those close range weapons. But again, they have to feed into this choke point, so it's not always necessary. Lastly, we got the piano room, which in my opinion is the best third site, okay? It's also, I honestly like this site a little bit more than the top floor even. First things first, let's make some footholds, people. If they take this closet, we don't want them to feel comfortable. We don't want them to be able to hang out in here. This is not a hanging out room. It's a room to die in. So if they do end up clearing this utility and getting in here, they can't really fight back against these footholds, and they're not able to just like sit in a corner and wait and hold because they're exposed the entire time. So these footholds, very, very important. Again, we can use incorporate our other setups into these holds where, you know, we can do the same top floor setup just slightly altered. You know, we hold that connector area with the doorway there and set that up with our 2 reinforcements, and we all of a sudden we have a really powerful hold. You probably want to reinforce this unless you plan on holding above very heavily. A lot of people will do these footholds, which can be good, at least if you're playing yellow side, because you're able to kind of contest these drops and stuff. But for our sake and our purposes, we're not pros, we're just ranked players. Reinforcing this is the better bet most of the time, unless you're in a 5 stack and you all know what you're doing, which doesn't happen for anybody who's watching this video. Rotate hole. Rotate, connect the bomb sites. Beautiful. Uh-oh, but what's the problem here, guys? That's right. They have a lot of deadly angles from here. If they take this lobby room, they can hold you in through these rotates, right? There's a lot of spots they can cut you off from, especially if they open this. So if you have the time and you have the extra walls, reinforcing this is good. I've also seen like Garfield's obsessed with like this castle setup where you basically castle all this side and hold from in here with the castle to hold lobby. It can be a little sketchy. If you want to reinforce these walls, I like to open above, again, for C4s over top for when they're pushing in lobby. And again, if you have somebody above, vertical holes are great here because otherwise they can kind of just walk in, open this wall, and go for a plant pretty quick, which is again why it's nice to have, you know, maybe somebody playing Visa side off the start, or even this castle setup here like we already talked about. Just something to slow them down, really. Outside of that, we'll want to reinforce these benches walls. Otherwise, benches window, very strong angles into the bomb site, so these two are also very, very important. And one way to work around this wall is you can do the left and kind of like that villa strat again. Footholds on the right. So now if they're pushing in from lobby, they can't really fight back against these footholds, and they can't actually creep up to this doorway, which forces them around to these long angles and kind of forces them to get in from here, which does let you play in this area a little bit easier and use this cover to your advantage too. So, but again, we can extend out, use our traps, use our info, and try to hold as much of this space and as much of this map as possible without sacrificing the most important map control, which is the bomb site, of course. One other thing you might want to do is maybe just like some head hold or something here. Again, you can C4 out into lobby. I mean, if you're over here, I don't even know. Maybe, I think normally I actually make this rotate in the middle, so that way I can, I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much. I mean, here's the thing too. If you are holding this area on the basement site, You can hold kitchen from this hatch. This is the hatch of power right here. If you're on basement defense, you can hold the yellow walk-in. You can hold the breach. You can even make vertical above the breach too, but that hatch is super, super good if you are roaming. Yeah, anyway, that's the setup. Welcome to Fortress. Fortress is a map that is underrated and overhated. I actually love playing Fortress. Such a good map. There's a couple ways to set up this bomb site. There's no arguments to be made that you are going to make this rotate hold. No matter what you do on the site, you want to make this rotate. Nothing else really makes sense. The other thing you want to do is make a rotate into bathroom. This basically lets you hold master control and flow seamlessly throughout the sites, which is what we're looking for. You can also contest the walk in from here, which is great because you have a lot of cover. A couple different ways to do it. You can either extend out and open a rotate into here and extend out into this room. Most default, though, is just reinforcing all 3 of these walls. So you set up all of these walls, reinforce them all. If you really want, you can shotgun out this wall first, because a lot of thermites will try to thermite this wall, which will blow into this. So if you have the Cater the Bandit, shotgunning out this wall is not a bad play at all. And then usually you want to kind of hold this hallway. Why? Well, because if they come to this hallway door, they're on this balcony completely exposed in the middle of the open, and you're a defender swinging with the cover of the door frame. You have a big advantage in this fight. You could even put like a beeper out here, a thorn, something like that to swing off of, and they can maintain control of this hallway, which lets you hold this choke point really, really solidly. So if you're just holding the site, you're not extending out all the way to master side, which I really do recommend, then that's the way to do it. But you can also layer it a step above that and still fall back to the setup after extending out. For horse, you're going to want to reinforce this wall, make some head holes. This allows you to hold this corner very easily and also support your player who is probably playing here. You should have somebody playing in horse because, again, this doorway, they're completely exposed out here, which is not really ideal when they're pushing to a guy on like a shield and a million Denari trips and a Malusi and stuff. But if you're going to extend out, you want to put some barbed wire on the staircase. You basically want to reinforce these walls and then hold the choke point, which is really just this doorway here. You can reinforce that, play a mute jammer, play around here. Contesting this tower drop is really, really effective, but you can't do everything, so it's easier to kind of just stick to the bomb site and do the main default setup from there. Now, we have still reinforcements. A lot of people will just reinforce both these off right away. I think that's actually a really big mistake. If you see this is reinforced off and even this master wall is reinforced off, you can just drop this and go open the wall and start hitting the site really, really fast and very, very easily. So I prefer some footholds. Be wary though, because they can just take tower and hold these. I think it's best to actually have someone hold here off the start, shoot a couple drones, and then rotate away just to waste time so they can't take that space for free. You can also even do a rotate into here, but for our purposes, I'll say just reinforce it off. I mean, extend out, shoot a drone. You know, even these drops are really defender sided, right? So if I'm sitting here, they actually can't kill me unless they drop over the edges. They can't aim when they drop, so I can just shotgun them or whatever, but some utility makes it a little bit easier. And then with this rotate, you know, if you start, you shoot a couple drones, you can fall back through and then reinforce it off after. So you're creating way more value doing that, especially if you already have this one reinforced. But it's going to be easier just to reinforce them both, guys. If I'm being honest, it's going to be easier, more straightforward. But ideally, you have a guy playing tower, you have a guy playing main, and then you have the rotate, and then you also have a guy horse, and then you have like 2 more guys over there on that master side contesting that. And now they just don't have any ways that they can actually enter the building. But that's requiring a lot of teamwork and a lot of, you know, help and good players. So for now, make a rotate, make some head holes, and reinforce a couple walls, and you're going to be good to go. Welcome to the Dorms Games Room. I actually really like this site. I think it's a lot of fun. Most importantly on this site, you need a rotate, gentlemen. We got to rotate out into Old Tower side, okay? Rotate and reinforcement lets you contest this window hopping. It lets you hold this space. You can put a shield here, or zombies, whatever. And you're contesting this drop and this take over here on Old Tower, which is difficult because they have to drop in here, right? They have to drop in. You got to be careful, though. If they get on this rappel, they can't hold long angles, so you got to be aware of that. A lot of people do a rotate here, which can work. I'm not against it. It's just a matter of if you're holding here or not. If you're holding this space, make the rotate. You can fall off. You can reinforce it afterwards, or you can just reinforce it off and not play here. But if you're playing here, make the rotate, guys. Otherwise, you're trapped in a corner. The second they use one flashbang, you're running in a corner and hoping you don't die, but they run up and stab you in the face, so it doesn't even matter. Next up, we got to open up this wall. I like to do a vault rotate. Why? Because if they open this breach, then they can just crouch in through here and kind of get through on you. But if they have the vault, it's a whole lot harder. Now, if we reinforce this wall, you know, if you have the mirror, it's great because you can put a mirror on it after reinforcing it. Now you can basically hold this entire push and pre-fire off of this. And if you're going to do that, you can actually open this entire wall, like foot level. That way they can't look into sight, but if they're pushing up on this window from this wall, you know, you can shoot them through the wall. You can see them there, obviously. If you don't have the mirror, she is banned a lot. Just reinforce the right side and open footholes on the left, or reinforce both. Reinforcing both is just fine. The footholes are nice because then you can contest the window, of course, from back here. So the footholes do help a lot, but that's gonna be up to interpretation. You know, and don't be mad if your teammates reinforce it. Don't be mad if they make the footholes. Just go with the flow. We just gotta know how to play into the setups, because there's not really like bad setups. I mean, the only bad setups are the one that help the other team and don't help ours at all. But when it comes to like an indifference like this, it's not worth freaking out. It's just about playing into it, which is why we need to know how these setups actually work. One thing you can do on this is you can reinforce off this and just give up the space. I don't love that though, because once they get in here, this is actually really strong angles all the way through sight, right? So we don't love this. We don't want them to be able to just have one guy here adding a ton of pressure. So instead, we make a rotate into briefing, which does two things. Firstly, allows us to hold this space and then fall off, and then still have multiple routes, you know, that we can peek them from. But secondly, it allows us to push up here and stop a plant like over here, for example, while being able to hold this space. We can hold more space at the same time by having a rotate here. You can castle off the window if you really want. You can castle this off and extend out. It's not going to do much. They're probably going to end up taking this space. If you really want to stop them from taking this, again, you got to hold horse. This is the power position, right? You're stopping this entrance. You're stopping these pushes. You have all the cover in the world. And if you want to do that, you can actually reinforce these two walls off and have all the bathroom control too. And then you could even make a rotate through here and have even more space, and you put some barbed wire here or whatever. But then we're getting too complicated. So for now, open rotate, reinforce these walls, and then here's your new choke point. Barbed wire, whatever, barbed wire trap, thorn trap on the light, Malusi, and now you can play this pretty aggressively. You can play it with the shotgun, you know, if you're smoke or mute or whatever. Play with the shotgun. Thorn shotgun also works. And then even from here, you can still hold entrances from the other side. So you can hold a lot of space from here, which is why it's very strong. And now you're kind of contesting everything, and you're good to go. There you go. There's the dorm. Beautiful. Love it. Lastly is the cafeteria and waiting room, which might be my favorite site in the entire game. Contrary to popular belief, we're going to open this wall. This is what they do in Pro League, but it's also going to be really, really effective in ranked. And then you're going to make footholds along this side. Why are we doing this? What is the point? Don't do this if nobody's playing Infirmary. I highly recommend you are the guy that plays Infirmary, because most people won't. But this basically just lets you hold the push into sight from over here, which also you establishes a crossfire with your teammates on sight from over here. You reinforce this or make footholds, one of the two. It doesn't really matter. And now you can kind of both hold this sight walk in from a crossfire. So if they're walking in as an attacker, now they're exposed to this, or exposed to this, this, and this all at the same time. And you have a crossfire. Crossfires are good. We like crossfires. It's also a really safe position to hold the push into Infirmary. They have to hit this choke point, this choke point. You have a crossfire from sight onto this guy if he tries to push this door. And they try to hop in this window. A lot of brutal angles that you can peek aggressively onto outside, or you can just wait for them to hop into your thorn trap, your barbed wire, whatever. You're playing here with Jaeger maybe, with your ADSs set up. You have some brutal angles onto this doorway too. So you basically just want to hold this space. I really like also thorn trap on the light. Play here with the shotgun. He hits it. He goes to run. Boom. Shotgun in the chest. Beautiful. Last thing I will do is make a rotate here. You can reinforce this wall. The only problem with that is if they open the hatch and drop, you can't really contest them as much. But if you have the rotate here, you can rotate in and out. You can go support your site a lot easier. Let's say they're not taking east side. And now I can actually contest from this wall here in waiting room. One thing to keep in mind for this bomb site that a lot of people mess up. Firstly, reinforce the hatch and reinforce this wall. That's not what people mess up. People think this is the site. This is not the bomb site. The enemy team can't actually plant here. So if they start pushing from a lobby side and you have all these reinforced and you waste a lot of time on this doorway with a smoke or a mute or whatever, you know, and they don't open this wall, you know, you get a couple shotgun kills. Oh, they open the wall. You got to run away. You can let them take all this space, because they have to eventually push into here to actually plant the bomb, which a lot of people mess up and forget, which means crossfire from waiting, or you give all of this up and you reinforce both these walls, and now all of a sudden I'm holding the site the only other site entrance with a shotgun. So that's not the bomb site. Very, very important that a lot of people miss. But from here, I mean, you can even do some like C4s over the top and stuff. You know, there's a lot of different options. I mean, that's a brutal C4 for anybody walking in that doorway. So yeah, you got your one wall, your three walls over there. You're extending out into Infirmary. You can reinforce this or even footholds again if they're walking up this hallway. Very strong. However, if they have the Ash or Zofia, they can just open this up and then hit the site, which gives them another route into site. site. You don't need to hold vertical at all on this site. Some people like to play laundry. I like to just open this hatch so they feel less comfortable. I don't want people pushing in this doorway. So if I have this hatch open, they're kind of worried about it or whatever. They're a little more scared. Some barbed wire here is good so they can't just like sneak in on me over here. The only other thing I would suggest is if you have the extra people, if you have, you know, the manpower, you can extend out over here, hallway side. Just have someone maybe roaming, hammam, whatever. And then you can also like contest this outer door, which is not the easiest thing to push into as an attacker either. But you got to be careful of lobby side. And there's a lot that can go wrong with that, where as this basic like 3-room hold is super, super effective. Kanal is next up. Kanal is another map that people are just absolutely atrocious when it comes to site setup most of the time. First things first, footholds on the E-box walls. Reinforce, reinforce, reinforce. Again, we can shotgun it open for arcade or a bandit first before reinforcing for that extra sound. This is a great spot for a Cade Claw, and one of the few sites I'd actually run Cade barbed wire, because you can put a Cade Claw there and then put barbed wire here, and it'll stop all the drones from getting in too, which is really, really nice. These footholds though, why are we doing these footholds? This looks dumb. Oh, well, they're just gonna shoot me. No, well, you're gonna shoot them. You're gonna sit back here. If they walk up this hallway, blammo, they're dead. So if you can keep the wall shut, they're feeding into like just this disgusting crossfire between you there and a guy 90. If they get top green control, this is going to work against you, right? So you got to be careful of that. We got to reinforce all 4 of these walls. Why? Well, you're going to find out real quick. If I'm this guy outside the window and I got holes here, all of a sudden I can get across on the entire bomb site, right? Look at this. Oh my gosh. And guess what's even worse? I can go all the way back and repel this thing and hold an angle through. Hey, Chalet players, where are you at? Go sit there for 3 minutes and be completely useless and maybe get half of a kill. So yeah, reinforce these 4 walls on this corner because you don't want that to happen. This is also super good. This is why I like bringing like an ace and a ying here. You can basically smoke the left side and ying it and blind the guy and then ace this wall, and all of a sudden I can sit out this window and just lock everybody down in sight, and it's so brutal. So very good wall to reinforce, very good wall to open if you can on attack. Now, as a defender, you want to extend out and hold these staircases. Barbed wire, traps, whatever. You can peek over top, you can peek here. A lot of different ways to peek that and hold it. Some people will make a rotate here. I don't love it because, as you can see, it get pinned down from this window, which does have another long line of sight all the way to here. So I don't love making this rotate. I don't think you need it either. You can usually just rotate in through this doorway and just be careful as you cross. Like if there's a guy in this window, but you need to get back to sight, you know, you can pre-fire him or you can just sprint across. Like realistically, this is such a tight pixel. He's not going to land that shot in time. So you have these reinforced. You don't do this, but you do want to do this. Why do you want to do this? You actually want to reinforce this wall. You want to do this because then you can hold red stairs from up here. So let me reinforce this just so you see what it looks like. This is a fantastic spot for a mirror. Now, you don't have to reinforce this, but if you have the mirror, you can. But basically, you can hold red stairs from here, which is great. And you can also hold the walk-in through the box if they do end up taking that control. So this is really good. More importantly, though, we got to have a rotate, gentlemen. We got to connect the bomb sites. If this is the only way we can get to the bomb site, head glitch here, guy 10,000 meters away, locking this down, we can't get through the site. So we need this rotate. Absolutely. Again, if you have the mirror, boys, mirror is so good. We'll open up these walls. We'll reinforce this, put a mirror on. Now we can see all the way down with the mirror. And we basically just peek off this side to stop them when they push up. C4 from below here also works really well, especially if you have Valk or something. But if you don't have the mirror, don't make the holes. You don't have to reinforce it, but just don't. You might as well just reinforce it, honestly. You might as well. So you reinforce that. You can do this. You can stop the push in from the box. You know, even something as simple as this works. Or they're planting me on the A rack. C4 over. Bada bing, bada boom. Planter down. You win the round. You do need to hold red stairs. Why? Firstly, you can hold box, have this crossfire. You can hold the hop in the windows. You can also shotgun anyone trying to walk up. So barbed wire here. So you got barbed wire on the staircases. You're holding each staircase. The only missing piece is this sky bridge, which I do love. One little trick play. If you want to play the Cav, you want to play literally anybody with a shotgun, you can make a hole here and play underneath in gym. A lot of people will drone through this drone hole and start droning up and say, "Oh, it's all clear. I'm gonna take this for free." And they hop in the window. You shotgun them in the bottom of the nuts. Also, if you start the round here, a lot of Amarus like to come in through here. Guys coming through scuba. Stay here with a shotgun. You'll hear them walking at you. Bada bing, bada boom. Freebie. I think that's my new line. And you can also even get aggressive on these windows if they're like playing outside. But you just gotta be a little bit careful because people will repel like the side of this even, which is completely useless. But that's your top floor setup. Very simple. You can also play below with the C4s, contest the guys below, which also works pretty well. The real problem with site setups come on the basement of Kanal, where people come in here and reinforce this, and I go, "You brick!" every single time. My stupid champion randoms reinforce this. Stop reinforcing it. Ankle holes, people, ankle holes. Just enough that they can't get through here, but enough that you can get a line of sight onto this trench door. It's fantastic. Why? Because now when they walk in trench, this is the thing. This signals to them Absolute free space. This is reinforced. What's the problem? Well, now they drone it and they see it's reinforced. Now they can just take the fights on this, and just walk in. They have a Monty, they have a shield. Just do this. Walk in. Clear all this space for free. Very, very easy. Holes are here. I can't hold this and hold this and hold this. Crossfire. I can't turn my back. Wherever I turn my back, I'm exposed, right? Make the footholds. They can ash the wall. Who cares? They can run through there. Who cares? Why? Because I'm still sitting here with a shotgun ready to fight you. Or I'm sitting here with a shotgun, and it doesn't matter because you're swinging into it and you're dead and you get smoked, okay? We all know we got to connect the bomb sites at this point, guys. Connect the bomb sites. Very, very important. Just allows you to rotate through without having to go through a single wall. What's a really nice play here on this is you can reinforce this left side and make head holes on the other. And what this does for you, if it gives you a really safe spot to hold angles onto scuba stairs, onto the swing here, or even just play off this reinforcement. So you hear them walking up, you can do something like this, or even peek the doorway so they're not sure which side you're going to peek from. Just look at it from an attacker's perspective. If I'm walking through here and this wall is not open, I can just do this, and then walk and peek this, and then take this space, right? And I can walk all the way through, super safe, and I'm not exposed to any of this because this is all closed. So head holes help add that pressure onto the attackers. Some barbed wire here is really good, right? They're walking down, they go to punch it, they're in the middle of the open, they're exposed to everything. Very nice. Some barbed wire, frost mats, anything on these windows to stop them from hopping in is also good. You can even put a shield here and play behind the shield and contest them from back here. You basically just don't want them to take that space for free. And when it comes to the hatches, you're just going to reinforce those. One other thing you're going to want to do is make some head holes here, reinforce this wall. The reason we're doing these head holes, just so we can hold main stairs. Another way to hold main stairs. You do have to be careful though. Like if your teammates are garbage, again, the attackers can use these holes against you, right? If I'm an attacker, this is why you don't want to make head holes here, because a lot of people will do this, and that's a bit of a mistake because the attacker just comes here and holds this. Now he's just pinning you down from a pretty safe spot. At least with these ones, he's got to be like halfway down the stairs, completely exposed to the hallway swings in order to hold this, which is not ideal. It's also why you probably want to put some barbed wire here, or even play this staircase. If you play here with a shotgun, they're pushing into a very disadvantaged gunfight, and you can hold trench at the same time. So depending on where they come from, you're in a great spot. And you can actually hold this from here as well, and this doorway. So this is a great spot to play. And then you reinforce the hatches, and you're good to go. That's your default site setup for the basement. For our third site on Kanal, you got two options. You go map room, or you go Coast Guard and run straight over to the map room with Mozzie and Mute, and you pretend that this is the site, and you trick them into coming and pushing this when it's not actually the bomb site. Those are your only two options. But if you're here, this is what you want to do. You want to make a rotate. Connect the bomb sites. Reinforcement here. This gives you a safe spot to play to contest this walk through the doorway, right? You don't want them to just walk into sight. Reinforce the hatch. Reinforce this wall. You don't want them to just shoot through it if they get this space. I do like the footholds here just for if they try to walk in through the site door, so you can play here pretty safely. You know, if they're coming museum side, you can just shoot them as they walk in. These footholds don't really help the attackers at all, right? There's nothing they can really do with this besides like make an angle like this, which is really not that good to begin with, right? They can't really get a lot of value out of this. Maybe if they open this wall, but again, they're in the middle of the open, you're okay. Most of the time you want to extend out and actually hold museum, stop them from getting this control in the first place. And on this site, you pretty much always want to hold vertical as well. So the way we can do this is we can actually do some footholds all the way along this wall. The other option is to reinforce one of them just so we have, you know, another corner we could potentially hide in. But this is nice because then when they walk in this green door, we're spraying them through the wall. A little rotate here lets us escape as well. So now we can kind of use this rotate to go in and out, fight museum, fight bottom green, and then still fight this like model side area. You can't hold this as well because there's not a lot of places to play, but if you put a shield here, you can hold this bridge, this old bridge. You can also castle it off, put a mute jammer deep, just slow them down, or you can even have a roamer playing over there. Your site is pretty much set up. You get the hatches reinforced. The only other thing maybe is you want to do some footholds here even too, for if they walk through kitchen. But when you're going upstairs, this is the real bread and butter. Back to the setup. Reinforce your two walls over here. If you can, reinforce all of these walls so they're not just like spraying you through the windows again. And then you can make your rotate. You can set up the exact same way, get the hatches, or you can even open a hatch to drop back. Basically just wasting time upstairs, fighting them off, potentially getting kills, getting rid of utility, rid of the drones, stopping them from opening vertical on you, and then falling back to that absolutely beautiful site setup that we set up in the prep phase already. One more option is making this into a rotate, which does allow you to kind of get through here a little easier, you know, so you're not getting cut off from this angle on the doorway because they can technically hold this whole cross from there. That a lot of the time will help the other team a little bit more. You know, say I have a smoke grenade, I can smoke this and then get through and then start fighting people on the site. So I don't know, I wouldn't do it, but you can. You can always bust that out later in the round too. Emerald Plains, baby. I actually really like Emerald Plains. I find it's actually a lot of fun. The only thing that actually matters on this bomb site is that you make a rotate. If you have a rotate, life is a whole lot better, okay? So you have this rotate here. You can technically make head holes along this wall as well. This is something that I like to do at least, because that'll just basically allow you to hold all the way over if you want. But again, they can use these holes against you, so you got to keep that in mind. Most of the time, you're better off with just the rotate, but it's an option, right? We got to know what our options are. A lot of people will reinforce all of these. There's a couple issues with that. If they come here, obviously there's only 2 ways you can get into the bomb site. So you can have someone lock this down, and they can actually hold this other door from the window. So you're kind of trapped out of the site, which is why I don't love it. But if you leave them all soft, you have this guy outside on the balcony who can just kind of like shoot you from every single direction, right? The most important one, I think, is this middle one. And then you can do footholes on the other side here. So if you do the middle reinforcement, I'll show you what it looks like, because I think this is pretty important. You could also do this the other way and put a mirror facing this room. But if you have it this way, now you can still shoot their feet, or like shoot them through the wall when they come through this doorway, right? So you can contest this, and you can see I'm not exposed to the window. The other thing we could do is just like some higher up holes. So if we know they're planting or whatever, we can smoke C4 through there, stop the plant as well. So I like just the middle wall for the reinforcement on this, and then like some high holes, some low holes, and you're good to go with that. A lot of people reinforce all of these too, and I think that's actually a big mistake. I think you should do just the right for footholes and reinforce the other two, because this basically just allows you to stop them from pushing up the hallway from here in sight. I mean, anywhere in the site really. You can shoot them if they're trying to push up this green hallway, which is a lot of really good control. Make sure you reinforce this. I mean, it's just the outside wall, very important. And if they have green control, they can start pressuring sight from this direction, but they can also take hunting and pressure from there. So getting green control is really, this is like the power positions of the attack here, because if they have this control and they have all these angles in the site and they start nading and clearing you, and they have the breach open, they have this, there's not really anywhere safe that you're actually able to play to stop this push. So these footholes stop them from being able to take up here and fight this early. This is another really good position to play with some barbed wire, because you can contest the push, you get with the shotgun, the thorn, whatever, but you can also use this head glitch where they're in the middle of the open and you have the cover. I love a thorn trap on this light or whatever to also peek off of when they're actually pushing that hallway. And there's so many different ways you can pop your head over this. They have to hit a nasty shot in order to deal with you. So holding green, very, very important. But what's also really important is extending out into museum if you can, and reinforcing these exterior walls. This is great, because if they open this, they just have a new way to get in that makes it a whole lot easier. So I recommend reinforcing these two, because then if they come to this balcony, they have to basically funnel in through archives, which allows you to, again, with the shotgun, with the C75 on the thorn or whatever, you can fight them very easily. And you can also hold library a lot easier. So you have these crossfires, maybe some barbed wire, which allows you to also hold green. And you can just kind of hold this entire top floor and stop all their entrances into the map. One more thing you might want to do is just some footholds on this green wall. So that way, if they do try to hop in this window or walk up this hallway, you can contest it from here. Best case scenario, you actually have barbed wire and another guy kind of playing this orange area. You know, you have someone floating over here that can kind of react and play. And, you know, you can even peek the guys on the balcony if they're going too direct. But there's a lot of space to contest, and doing it all is very difficult. But the more space you have, the easier this map becomes. And you got to be careful, because this is also a long line of sight from outside that already cuts your bomb site in half. So if you have a guy in this window, it's better to just get rid of him. You know, if you can swing close on him from library, it's great. You know, try to get rid of him, but also just be sure when you're going through this doorway to crouch through, even though I'm pretty sure they can actually rappel upside down on that. So be careful out there, guys. Next up, we got the meeting and gallery site. I actually really like this site. I might like it better than the CEO. I think the CEO is my third favorite site on this. The way we set this up is pretty much the same. If we had the rotate here, this is good for 2 reasons. We reinforce this main breach, of course. So we reinforce this off, stop them from getting these exterior walls, bandicade, whatever. This is good for 2 reasons. Firstly, it allows us to connect the sites a little bit differently, so we can actually come through here to contest archives rather than having to force our way through into the middle of the open to actually, you know, fight off somebody. Let's say they're going for a plant, they have the breach open, they can just plant here, they can just cover, right? They can just hold our swings, you know, and this guy's here in a smoke grenade or whatever. So this gives us a new path to retake onto this gallery side and keep the crossfires alive on here. So this rotates great. The other thing it does, though, is we can hold the breach push in from it. So if they do want to push in the breach, we can hold this passive angle, you know, even something like stupid like this. I mean, here, you can look at this. there's just a lot of good angles for if they have to actually push in. So instead of peeking into the breach, we force them to push in, and we have these really powerful angles from there. You'll want to reinforce this unless the only situation you don't want to is if you're actually holding library, you can open it up. But I think it's just better for the attackers because it's pretty easy to clear library, and then they can just add all this pressure onto you. So reinforcing this wall is my best advice. A lot of people play this map aggressive, and I think it's really good too. There's a lot of really good runouts on this map, a lot of good spawn peaks. You know, you run out here, spawn peak, you can hold the ladder from this this window too. So if anyone crawls up the ladder, they're dead. The other thing is if they don't come on this side of the map and they're going for that main breach, whoop, you're dead. Gotcha. So good place to play aggressive. You can even throw thorn traps. You're basically just extending the site even further by doing that. You want to stop them before they get to the staircase. Why? Because if they're on this staircase, they have all the advantage in the world, and killing this guy's going to be really tough. So barbed wire here, you can play off the traps, off the barbed wire, and play on the staircase. And you can also hold the repels in from here, which is great, because a lot of people, you know, will hit this repel too. If you want, you can do a rotate, but careful, because this is the window, right? So if you're doing rotate here, you're actually giving them a rotate in the site. So just be cautious. I wouldn't do it. I think just reinforcing these walls is actually the better play for a bomb site like this. If you're reinforcing those walls, they can kind of take this a little bit easier. So you usually want to kind of extend out CEO. This is a good choke point, and then you just reinforce these two walls off. If there's nobody on these windows, you can play this with a shotgun, a mute, whatever. You can extend all the way green side and go for more like a deeper roam and layer it off even more. But most people aren't pushing for this bomb site on this map. And if they are, you got a lot of good angles from behind these bars and stuff where you can just use it to your advantage to fight them off. This wall, same thing. I mean, you can just reinforce them all if you want, or you can do the same thing that we did on the other side where we reinforce the middle, do the head holes on the other side, and even like jumping up onto this desk, you can get some angles off of this as well. Nobody is repelling this. If anybody is repelling into courtyard here, they're insane. But if they do, you know, just be aware of that. You can also fight library from here so you can support your teammate. Oh yeah, we need one more rotate to connect the two bomb sites. This is the most important thing here, is rotate and this reinforcement next to it. So now we can rotate through. We can play off this reinforcement, and that's really where do our most damage to protect this bomb site. Boom, got the planner down, gentlemen. Just gotta be careful with this window repel because it's also a very strong spot for the attackers to play. And of course, from archives, they can shoot through these purple things as well, so keep that in mind. Lastly, for Emerald Plains, we got this kitchen dining site, which honestly is not bad, especially if we hold top, because the problem is if they open this hatch, they have a ton of angles into the site. It's very, very dangerous. So this is honestly the most important reinforcement, is reinforcing this hatch or playing above to stop them from actually taking it in the first place. Next, most important is probably making this rotate. You know, it's on par for importance as the other rotate, which is, you know, I probably lied. This is probably even more important. This rotate on the A site basically connects A to freezer. The problem is if you don't make this and you give this up, they can actually play in this pantry area and just start fighting your guys in sight and using this control to use flashbangs and dump utility and not worry about pressure from here. Whereas if this rotates open, you can constantly threaten this area. You throw a reinforcement down here, and all of a sudden you got some really nice angles off the bomb into the breach. You know, you can just hold the rotate. You can still fight kitchen side. So you got a lot of really strong angles on these tables, but not if these are soft, because look, what if they open these? Well, now I can't play here because this guy's just sitting outside a window. So reinforcing these, also very important. If you have a cage, you know, that could help too. Most people aren't going to open these walls though. I like some barbed wire, some sort of info they're here so they can't just walk in and shoot you in the back, right? If you have the info on this side of the doorway, like the yellow mine's here, this guy can drone you out, see you're on the bomb, walk through and tank the yellow mine, and you're dead before you can even react. So having it a little bit deeper gives you a little more info. And then you want to reinforce these two. I mean, you could argue that you want to make some like footholds here or something because you can watch the hallway walk up. The only problem with that is, you know, they could have a single guy go here. It doesn't even have to be an Ash. Just anybody with a gun who has a brain. He can just sit in this doorway, open this, and now he's just got these crazy long lines of sight that you can't do much about because he's not under any pressure in this room, right? There's nothing he's exposed to. It's very safe to just do this. So reinforcing these walls, in my opinion, makes a lot more sense. You can reinforce this wall as well. This is also great because, one, you can play it to, you know, contest kitchen doorway, stop them from planting with the C4 or whatever. But two, if they open vertical, it's going to kind of break their vertical in half. So let's say they have a bunch of vertical on here because they took top, they have the ram or whatever. Now, you know, they're looking into a reinforcement rather than being able to open this wall as well. Or same thing on this side, right? They open vertical here, but now they can't look to this side of the reinforcement, so you're safe. So they have to almost open both. But You want to get these walls too, otherwise, you know, now you're getting sprayed from courtyard as well. I'll show you what's on the other side here. So anybody in here can also push from the courtyard. So you're reinforcing these, reinforce the hatch, reinforce. You're kind of reinforcing everything and then making 2 rotate holes. And if you have the time, I mean, very important as well, reinforce these. Bandit Cade also going to be great on this, keeping this wall shut as long as possible. Not the end of the world though, because if you're holding above, you can actually make vertical on this too. Something to keep in mind. So this is those outside walls that we were talking about earlier, which are also great to reinforce if you want to hold above. You can reinforce those off and make some vertical and actually help your teammates from above to hold the site entrances, which you can see here. You just need the info in order to actually do it. All right, it's time for Outback. Starting off with the laundry site. Everybody loves the laundry site, boys. We're going to make it rotate, though. First thing, hey, guess what we're doing, guys? We're connecting the bomb site. Wow, it's crazy. It's crazy. A nice thing you can do on this, too, is actually make these head holes where you can actually look up above the B-bomb by standing on the washing rack. The reason I like the hole on the right is because the B-bomb protects you along with these shells, whereas if you make it on the left, they can clearly pin it down from top shark, so not ideal. You can reinforce this if you want, but it's not really necessary. I think you're fine just doing this. The other option is to make it on the right side, and then you are covered from the dorms push, so it's really up to you. You can do either way, though. The other thing about the left side, which is nice, is, of course, you're not exposed to bull, so I think I actually did this backwards. It's been so long since I played Outback, since it just got added back into the rank pool, so bear with me. But yeah, this is the right side, so do it on the piano side, or you can do it, honestly, right in the middle. Wait, does right in the middle make sense? Right in the middle is actually the best of both worlds, I think, gentlemen. So I'm going to do the rotate from right in the middle from now on, because that's just what makes sense to me. Now, we can do the same thing on this laundry machine, where you can open up the top and still peek the window, hold the breach, so that's really nice. You probably want to reinforce this wall, though, because otherwise they can just kind of blow it open and pin you down from this bathroom window. So reinforce and then head holes above. Some people reinforce these walls because there's this window here. You can also do one reinforcement and then some footholes, excuse me, because that way they can't get the long angle from the window, but you can still kill them if they're walking up this hallway to try and take piano. So footholes and then reinforcement is a really good power move. On this site, you definitely want to hold yellow stairs. This is a really strong choke point, so some barbed wire, a warden, a smoke, whatever you're using to lock this down and swing off your barbed wire. Just don't overextend because it can hold these angles. Be careful of that. Another thing you can do is open up some vertical for this if you want, so you can hold this doorway from above. But this also goes the other way where, you know, if they don't open the main breach, you can hold bottom yellow from above. So, you know, these holes are really good, but they're not necessary. Reinforce both the walls. I mean, this is just standard. Reinforce those. Keep them shut as long as you can. The other thing I really like to do for if they don't take bottom yellow, so this is if they do take bottom yellow, but then if they don't, you can actually use this yellow stairs to hold this window hop in from here. So you can hold the window hop in safely from down here on yellow stairs. You just have to be careful because some attacker could just lurk through these doorways. So if you really want, you can barricade these off, but then of course it gives them all that space for free. Last but not least, you're going to want to reinforce this wall so they can't get the long angle from bull. And then you're going to want to make a little bit of a line of sight here just so you're able to actually peek off this reinforcement and contest this a little bit. Some people like to rotate here, but you don't have to. I also like reinforcing off these picnic walls. So if they try to come in with like a buck or an ash, they can't just fly in through here and instantly start pressuring you. What you can do though is put some footholds here for if they don't clear out games. That way you can kind of play from back here and then they can't push in the site without dealing with you first from either that window or actually taking this side of the map. And reinforcing these if you have the walls for it just to play up on bull early. Either that or you can extend all the way over, reinforce those outer walls, contest garage early and hold the entire top floor, which is honestly the strongest strategy because then you can contest this picnic area from both directions and you're kind of stopping them from getting into the site or into the map in the first place, and then you can peel off and do those layers to get back to site. So there's your top laundry hold. I'm gonna blow myself. Next up, we got the office and party site. Fantastic bomb site, usually set up wrong. What's the problem with this site? Well, it's not the fact that most people don't make a rotate. If you're smart, you're making this rotate, and you're a cool guy, and you're an epic gamer, and it's awesome, and you reinforce this wall maybe. You make some head holes here. That way you're able to peek over. I mean, you could just open this all the way up if you wanted. The only downside is if they get garage control, they can actually shoot you through this wall. So they can kind of blast through and spam through the wall and open up angles. So if you really want, you can reinforce one of them. You don't have to, though. It's not necessary. If you're going to, it would be one of the two or both of these middle walls. You could even make another rotate over here if you really wanted, or even just some lines of sight. So again, you can kind of hold the push in from here. I mean, these are, again, passive angles, but these also work the other way where if they're taking garage, you can now use these to contest garage or even C4 over these, right? So a lot of upsides to having these holes, but a lot of downsides too. I mean, that's the thing. Holes go both ways, gentlemen, for defense and attack. Now, the problem with this site, too many times people open this wall. Bad, 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 bad. And then they reinforce this. What's the problem with that? Now you can't sit here. Now you can't contest bull, and you can't sit here because you're in the middle of the open. So you're effectively eliminating this space from your playing field. Now, the nice part is you can shoot down at the guys walking up the staircases, but you can do it the exact same way by just switching these around, reinforcing this wall, and now you're safe to play this and hold this, but you can still contest the garage stairs if they start walking up here. So some barbed wire or something on the stairs is also really good because you want to extend out and actually hold garage. So you have some barbed wire, traps, whatever, for anybody walking up here, and they can't just kill you from, you know, literally way down here. So you have that reinforced, and now these angles aren't really helping them do anything. They're not getting anything from these angles outside of maybe like coming up on them like this, but they can't do that if you're holding garage, because ideally you have someone playing in this area with their little rotate here on the wall. Please hold. And they reinforce the left side. Now these guys that are coming in the breach, which you should also reinforce and slow them down with, now they're coming in, but you have this reinforced so they can't get the long angles from the breach, which basically just cuts off this entire playing area in garage. But if you have that reinforced, you have these holes here. Now you can hold the breach. You can even tuck up on the wall and have this crossfire for when they push in, or you have a shield here. But realistically, if you have the shield, it should probably be facing this way, because then you can hold the stairs a lot easier. And then you have the info on the staircase. If you know they're coming up the stairs, you can kind of get aggressive. You can push up, and you can start holding this crossfire with your teammate in sight, which is why that information is so important. But your main job from garage is stopping the breach push and maintaining this control and stopping them from vaulting in these windows. So an angle like this, again, they're vaulting in, you just shotgun them as they vault in, very, very dominant. Or if they're trying to take underneath and they're not coming in these windows, you have some really strong angles from above. So this is the power position of the site, which is really, really good. And then with your site setup, you know, you can push back through and retake this area. You can reinforce all of these walls. What is even nicer even is just making some head holes like this and then reinforcing the rest. And that way you have even more crossfires on the bull. Be careful if you're doing both of these. They have some super long angles that you can get punished from. So just be careful. If you're going to do these holes, I wouldn't recommend doing both, but there's upsides to both of them. Now, the other thing you do is put a mirror on this wall, leave this wall soft, and then open up this wall, and all of a sudden now you can use this one-way angle against them. Reinforcing these is usually the best option, even with a mute jam or something, that somebody can play here and actively contest it, but you can also play, you know, back here by top shark and still contest shark. Some barbed wire or some traps in this area when they're in the middle of the open is a great cue for your teammates to kind of swing off of it. Either that, or you do these head holes on this wall, which I do really like, and the reinforcement here. First things first, you can actually hold an angle onto Picnic, so you can hold a really tight angle off the reinforcement, but you can also even hold like the walk-up shark stairs, especially if you do like the footholes here. The only problem with the footholes is they can actually use them against you too, so these are actually pretty attacker favorite as well, because when they're pushing up, they can kind of just hold these footholes, and actually they can cut off that sight door from here, so they can actually use this to abuse you, whereas the head holes, they can't see as much, so I like them a little bit better. Even extending out here, playing something on the stairs, holding Picnic is also great, or even hitting a roam game over there. So reinforce, a little bit of head holes, reinforcements along here, head holes, breach, rotate, you're good to go. Rotate into this bomb site, of course, and then most importantly, this garage setup, just don't mess it up, okay, guys? Reinforce the corner so you have a safe spot to play. Our last site for Outback is going to be the green and red bedroom. I think the site is just better. This is the superior bomb site. And what are we doing? We're connecting the sites together. Fantastic. This is enough of a site setup already here. There you go. You make a rotate. Ideally, you reinforce this right wall. And I really like the footholes on the left side. The only problem is if they Asher Zofia, they basically have an instant angle all the way through the site, which is not great. What you want to do probably a lot of the time, it depends on your teammates, depends if they're going to play it how you want. If you have teammates where you have absolutely no clue what they're doing, I wouldn't recommend this rotate, just reinforce it off. But if you rotate into here, you're able to contest this hallway and add more pressure to bottom yellow and even the walk down yellow to hold this space, which is really nice. And you can also contest any pushes coming from reception or main lobby side, especially if like a shield or something here, that you can basically hold this whole area. It's very nice. And then you can hold sight too. So you can hold a lot of space from here in Reptile, but if they're reinforced off, you're kind of trapped when it comes to getting back to the bomb site. Another thing you can do is you can just make a second rotate, especially if this is reinforced. You can just make another rotate here, and then I'd throw a reinforcement down and even some head holes if you want. This just basically makes another spot to contest this doorway, so you have multiple rotate options. Because if somebody realistically, if they have control of this, they can just kind of pin down this rotate and just stop you from getting through, or even like if they're holding like this or they're holding like this. Now you have multiple rotate options to push up and retake that space. You gotta be careful this bathroom window hopping. This is a very good take. You can see there's not a lot of angles on it. So like a couple smokes, a shield, all of a sudden they're in here very deep and very aggressive. So barbed wire, thorn trap, frost mat, lesion mines, all super good. I recommend reinforcing both of these walls. Some people will actually make rotates, which I think is really dumb. You can actually impact this cabinet too. And then you can, here, I'll actually show you. I got a C4. So you can impact this cabinet and you can vault up here, and over top of the reinforcements, you can actually open this wall. So you can actually open all of this, and you can even open this wall too. If you want a disgusting line of sight, you open this and you can see all the way into reception. Let me show you here. Make sure you reinforce that hatch, by the way. Just gonna stop them from dropping into the bomb site, which is super important, obviously. So you see those head holes, and if I'm an attacker coming in here with no drone, like 90% of the people that play this game, I'm looking through them like, what the heck is this? And then all of a sudden I'm dead to this super high angle that I'm not expecting. Same thing if I come in through this doorway. You know, I'm like this, I'm like, oh, there's some holes, you know, and I'm not looking up here. I'm not expecting that. So that's a really good way to kind of hold this space early on, but you gotta be careful because if they drone it, you're probably gonna get smoked. Basically, the way we're playing this, we're holding bottom yellow, we're holding sight, and even we're playing above potentially to stop them from opening above. And if you're playing above, again, just reinforce the outside walls, waste the time, try to get a kill or two or fall off back to sight, and go from there. Very simple bomb site. You know, it's a good one. It's a good one for a third site. Themepark is also back in the ranked rotation, which, you know, is kind of boring, but I also don't mind it because I haven't played in a while. We're going to start off with some head holes and a reinforcement here. What does this do? Well, if they want to drop the hatch, we can obviously hold it from this reinforcement, but we can also hold this push from the doorway or C4 over the rack if we need to. So again, more pressure, more angles they have to worry about as they push in here. They can't just stare at the doorway and take the space because they could be peeked from both sides now, so they kind of have to switch back and forth, and they might not be aiming the right way, and they have a 50-50 of whether they guess right or not. Meanwhile, you're peeking onto them or holding the right angle, you know, because there's no guesswork involved when it comes to the way you're holding that. So that's an instant advantage for you on defense, which is why we want to do it. Now, you can extend out into this room, but most of the time you're going to want to just reinforce them off. I do recommend opening up this wall so they can't thermite the wall and blow open this at the same time. So if you thermite the far right of that soft wall from the other side, it'll actually open up into here. I can't remember what other map we were talking about that on, but this works on this map as well. So opening up that wall, if you have the shotgun, is also just a nice little trick that helps out. You want to make another rotate here. This is just, again, more options when it comes to retaking. Let's say they're in office and, you know, they have control. We have options in terms of how we retake the bomb site. And then we want to, again, same thing on the other side, rotate into waiting. That way we can actually get into waiting, because if you're pushing just through this doorway, they can actually just hold this doorway from there. So this gives you another option, gives you a closer angle to peek. You know, surprise, I'm in your face with the shotgun and you're dead. Beautiful. Reinforce off our office walls to top yellow. And then you can reinforce vault wall. You can also make a rotate into here. I kind of like doing like the reinforcement here and then the rotate. That way if they're trying to come up yellow and try to push our teammates over here, it's just another avenue of like pressure, something you have to worry about. You know, you can play this kind of aggressive, or you hear them coming through bathroom, they go easy pick, potential flank route if they're going for initiation, but it is a little risky because if they open this wall, now they have another route into the bomb site, which is not ideal. Now for this cache side, we're gonna open up the right wall, and this is a wall that we're gonna open up the entire thing. Okay, now this seems a little silly because it does two things. Firstly, it gives the attackers a super long line of sight from the balcony. So if they're on this rappel and they're on this balcony, they can kind of just pin this whole thing down, right? Which you don't love because, you know, that's just a guy creating a ton of pressure. I'm stupid. This isn't head holes. This is supposed to be footholds. I'm gonna footholds along here. There we go, because then we can play waiting and kill them when they walk in cache. Okay, so don't do the head holes. It's been a while since I played Themepark, my bad. Do the footholds and then you're good. They're good to go. And then also if they're walking up this hallway, you can also see them from the other side of the footholds from here and just shoot them through the wall. So you have a really big advantage with these footholds, less of an advantage with the really long angle, right? So don't be silly, do that. Now, one other thing I do like to do is put some barbed wire on these staircases, traps, whatever, barbed wire for the drops so we can play this top dragon area, which is really, really strong. But if you're going to, I recommend opening up a rotate into here, and then reinforcing this wall. So now you have a safe spot you can sit. You can play off this. You can also rotate in here and play off this desk to contest this balcony. Mute jammer on the door is really good too. But you can also even like get aggressive here on this window. So you can kind of rotate back and forth and play the two. I also really like putting thorn traps, Fenrir mines, anything up in these little ledges for when they rappel in, just to catch them off guard. Because a lot of people don't expect things actually outside the map. So there's your little bunk setup. Very simple, but very effective. And be careful of this control hatch. hatch. It's one of the best spots to take as an attacker because once you're in here, you have just this bunker. You know, you're just chilling and they have to retake onto you. You got all this control. You're Ying shotgun and you planted the bomb and it's over. Maybe. Maybe that happened. Next up, we got bunks. I do the rotate right in the middle of bunks. Connect the bomb sites. I like the middle rotate. Really not for any specific reason. I think it's just because you're not like exposed to the hallway. I don't know. I think it's just easier for them to lock it down. You kind of have the bomb as cover. I think this is a big part of it. So like if they open up this wall, if you have the rotate here and this wall is open, the bomb actually covers you as you walk through it. That's why, I guess that's why I make it in the middle. These are the things I discovered long ago that I don't even think about anymore. It's just habit. You can pop this hatch and actually hold the barrels hopping if you'd like. You probably just want to reinforce off your bunk walls. Definitely want to reinforce off these. This is something you do on the other side as well, because what happens if you don't is this guy on the rappel can just literally hold down this entire hallway from there. So reinforcing this is actually really, really important. But I guess if they have the thermite and they're going for this and you're on the other side, it's probably better just open it up. You don't have to reinforce this one though. It doesn't really do a whole lot. Just this left one is the most important part. What you do want to do is make a rotate into break from here. And if you're roaming on this side, on the other side, also a great option, because now you can contest these window repel-ins without exposing yourself to them, and you're not giving up the space for free. If there's no setup on these walls, you can just go on this rappel, throw a flashbang at this doorway and rappel in, and anybody over here can't really do anything. But if they have this rotate and they have a guy playing here, you set up your shield and you hold down this hallway, now all of a sudden, yeah, I can do a whole lot more. And if you really want, you can reinforce this, because technically this guy on the window can hold you in here if he opens the wall. You're probably fine though. I mean, you can even back the shield up more, but yeah, you don't need to waste the reinforcement on it. Barbed wire on this staircase. Why? You can peek over and shoot them as they're punching it. You have a lot of different ways to peek them from. They lose this gunfight 99% of the time. Some barbed wire on the window hopping or traps or whatever. And then, yeah, reinforce these walls. I mean, I opened them up, but this is just the case that, you know, they hub on it, it's soft and you forget or whatever. Reinforcing that is a great play. Honestly, you can reinforce all four if you want. Either that, or you can do like head holes on one of them. That way, if you play in here, you're able to actually swing onto Kafe. So you have these reinforced. You'll actually fight the Kafe guys, but also hold like the top yellow walkthrough. So the head holes can be really good, but most of the time you just see those reinforced off. And then the same thing over here, we can reinforce these walls, stop them from taking from the opposite side, and kind of forces them into this choke point of the doorway. Lastly, you want some barbed wire, something on the bottom of these staircases. Just they're trying to walk up, you can actually peek onto them, you can actually fight them, and you have the info there rather than just sneaking up. If you want a top tier frost mat, you just put it here sideways, like you face this way, put it here like this, because when they come up this staircase, they kind of go like this. Or actually, you know what? Honestly, they're worried about this pretty much the whole time. They walk like this, all of a sudden snap, their legs are folded over their head, and then you get the easiest kill of your life. One more thing you can do technically is just open this or reinforce it even. There used to be, I don't know if you can still do it. I saw the vault prompt there for a second. You used to be able to vault up. Yeah, you see the vault prompt. But you can actually vault up from here, which is, you know, ridiculous and inconsistent, and I never do it. But if you're holding this side, for example, you can make a rotate here, and then you have another way to actually contest Kafe, which a lot of people like to play in. It's a great spot to contest. It's just a really solid choke point. You know, you mute off the doorway. You can play here aggressive with a shotgun. You know, they don't drone you out in this corner 90% of the time, especially on the other side. So you just sit here, they miss drone you, they walk in, you shotgun them in the face. Or you just, you know, shoot a drone, waste some time, fall back off, get to a new hiding spot, hope they don't drone you again. They walk through, you pop up, slam them. Lots of different options. Great C4 spot from below too, because a lot of people will sit in Kafe, hold angles like this, hold angles like this, hold angles like this, you know. So a C4 here will get pretty much all of them from below, and I can show you that right now. Just one more thing to add to the puzzle before we move on to the next site. I actually don't remember where it is now that I think about it. I think it's here. All right, I'm in Kafe. I'm holding the angle. Drone is the most classic site, I think, on Themepark. One of the more popular ones, too, especially in lower ranks. This is the only holes you have to do, though. This is the only site setup, just these holes. Why these holes? Well, firstly, if they're attacking and they're proning into these holes, you just have a huge advantage on them. This is just so useless for them. If you're playing it right and you're just sitting like this, when they actually run into the site, you're just spraying them through the walls off the one-way. You reinforce all 6 walls. You reinforce the hatch. Why are we doing this? Well, because if they don't open any of these walls, look at the only ways they can get into the bomb site. 1, 2. This is just 2 fat choke points where we can just hold the site, lock it down. If you want, you can C4 over top. That's the only like addition, I guess, you could add to the site setup is opening up above. But keep in mind, opening above also allows them to grenade over and get potential bandits and stuff. But the C4 is great. I mean, you can listen for the sound of this maintenance window to break. And when you hear the vault, you throw it over. As you can get a pretty easy kill. If it's the first guy in and it's the support, you got the thermite. Fantastic. Life just got 10 times easier. But so many choke points. Malusi's, Goyos lined up on these doorways is super, super strong. If you really want, you can extend out and roam above and just contest time on the hatch or whatever, because, or the vertical even. I mean, this is all above in office, so you can go for C4s if you really want. But keep in mind, if you go for a C4 and miss, or even if you land it, you're also giving them vertical potential onto you. So it's better to kind of force them to do the vertical instead. One other thing you can do is open up above this wall. This is more of an attacker thing, but just keep in mind that it exists. Is pretty sure there's angles from yellow stairs onto the site. Let me just go see here. So if you're on attack and you're really struggling for kills, this might be an easy way to get a kill, just to alleviate a little bit of pressure. Oh, you know what? It's from the rafters wall, actually. No, this is stupid. Never mind, this sucks. But what you can do is you can open the top of it. If you do thermite the wall open, you can obviously get a lot of really deadly angles from over here on the balcony. As your gracious host, I did you a favor and saved the worst for last. Although Skyscraper's pretty good on defense, it just is absolutely atrocious when it comes to attacking. First things first, we want to make a rotate from Geisha into Karaoke, because if they get Geisha and you give all this space up, they can just start pounding the site. And this is a map where it's very difficult to get into the map in the first place. So if you hold everything, the attackers are just kind of cooked. So we make this rotate. This also allows us to stop any plays through the site window, because if this is reinforced off, it makes it easier for them to come in through here. Now you want to probably reinforce this wall, because otherwise they can play this repel and kind of lock down the site door. So reinforcing this is very, very good. When it comes to top black stairs, there's 2 options. One is to open this up and actually hold this space with like a shield or something, and then reinforce this wall and this wall, because otherwise, obviously, you can get some really deadly angles from the balcony. I prefer to reinforce both and reinforce this, and then just do some footholds here for if they actually walk up the hallway. So you can actually hold this from here pretty safely with these, all 3 of these reinforced. And if they're coming in to try and thermite in this and stuff, you have a lot of angles from gold and from the other site to kind of contest them. And this is maybe where a better spot for a shield would be if you are reinforcing off these top black walls. That being said, you still want to contest black stairs. If you can hold black stairs with a smoke, you know, some barbed wire, stop them from taking it, waste their time. You can always smoke off this. Let's say you're getting pushed from underneath and pushed from over here. You know, they got a Monty coming up on you and they're over here. You can just smoke this doorway off, but you can still waste a lot of time and keep a lot of pressure on this balcony, because realistically, when the attacker's on this balcony, they have no cover at all. The only cover they have is this barricade, so it's actually not a bad play to play aggressive on the guys out here, because you have the cover of the door if they're back deep. So keep that in mind, that not a lot of cover here, kind of tough to attack. It's why Osa, you see a lot of Osa on this, because it's the only thing that really can create some cover for you on this site. Now, when you're actually here in Geisha, you want to reinforce the walls, make some footholds here, and reinforce this outside wall as well. This just protects you from if they come to the window, so they can't just beam you down, so you have some safety. And then if they end up getting this wall, which most people are going to get it anyway, you can just kind of give it up. But what's key to this is putting some barbed wire, frost mat, something on that window. Also, these footholds are great because they allow you to hold brown, but once you give it up, you can also contest Geisha from here, which is great. So, you know, you can contest them, see if they're actually pushing through, hold this space really easily. So you're kind of holding it, and if you can't hold it, you can give it up, because with these other footholds, you actually hold it from drum side. So you can hold this back all the way in terrace, which is fantastic. If they try to walk in, you beam them through the wall here. Now, this is better with like a frost, because you can put a frost mat, and they got to shoot the frost mat, and you have a, you know, a lower recoil gun for this long range, or Rooney, whatever. But the other reason you want to play over here is because you want to actually hold all of this side of the map. You want to reinforce these walls, put some traps for the window, put some traps for the staircase. Now they don't really have anywhere they can get in from. Reinforce this wall as well, so they can't actually push in from this side of the map without coming to a balcony, and all the balconies are garbage for the attackers because they're completely exposed. You can sit on this doorway, wait for someone to repel in the balcony, sprint over and pre-fire them. Why? Because you have the cover of the corner, and they're completely exposed. So you have a huge advantage in the fight, which is why aggressive balcony play is actually a great move on this map, despite it being super dumb and annoying. You can also hold this door walk up from above. These fights are just super defender-sided, so playing over here, extremely good. And then lastly, if you really want, you can make some head holds here, but just don't even do that. Just never mind. Forget I said anything. Definitely do some reinforcements on this wall, though. I mean, it depends what rank you're in. If you're in lower ranks, reinforce both. If you're in the higher ranks, you want to reinforce one and head holes on the other, because this allows you to actually hold the site from out here too, contesting black, but it also allows you to hold like the walk up from Shrine from here, and then you still have your little safety corner here to fight back on. Realistically though, it's probably better just to reinforce both. I mean, I'd probably actually rather do it this way, because then you can hold this push in from here to help your team, but you can also hold this push off the reinforcement. Let me show you what this looks like. So we can use the reinforcement to cover ourselves from the left and hold the push onto our teammate who's playing drum, but we can also use the edge of the reinforcement to hold these pixels, which people usually aren't ready for, and then you still have this safe corner to contest top black from. You know, you're really hanging on to drum control is the big thing here. Lastly, I mean, you can also add some footholds here if you want on the A site. Just lets you kind of hold A site here from here as well. But then again, if they take brown stairs, you might be getting clapped by the attackers. So do with that as you will. The other nice part, if they take drum, they start pushing across. Now they have to run across these footholes, which you are then blasting them from here on the bomb site. Pretty complicated, but very, very effective when done right. Next up is Office. This one's going to be a little bit more simple. We're kind of just doing the same thing that we talked about on the other site, reinforcing the outer walls. This is the one that really depends on the operators you're playing and how you want to set it up, because you can reinforce this, which can be very good, because if you reinforce this, the attackers have to push in through this doorway, and they can't really get these long lines of sight into the bomb site and to like contest your team. But if you hold this, now you can do that same thing on the balcony, and you can also stop them from opening the main wall. This is one of the best clash spots in the entire game. You place her shield down, you can throw some ADSs on the ground even. You know, you put the shield here, ADSs. Now you're just quick peeking off the shield and basically smoking anyone that tries to challenge you on the balcony, and they can't grenade it because you have the ADSs or Wamidus or whatever to help you. So that's a really, really good play. The other nice part about this is if you have this rotate, and they're doing an across take where they come from T, now you can have this doorway and you can actually look through it and hold the push in from here, which nobody's expecting, right? You're coming through here as an attacker. You're ready for the swing on a site. I'm not looking here. I'm not looking for a guy outside the map because I would think he gets detected. So there's a lot of upsides to this rotate, which I really, really like. Another option, you reinforce these. If you want to keep it simple, just reinforce the walls. But if you want to get a little spicy, you can make some footholes in here. Usually you want to do footholes on the right and then reinforcement on the left. This just stops the thermite from basically being able to get the wall for free. You know, you hear him going for the wall, you can impact out the drone hole and get the thermite, but you can also just like C4 the guy who's trying to get the wall, potentially get two of them with it, which is really nice. Normally you want to reinforce this wall too, and then you can just do some head holes next to it. The reason you want to reinforce this is because minibar is one of the strongest positions here, and if you don't and they get this main wall open, they're just going to start blasting you, which is not ideal. But with a reinforcement, some head holes, you're able to shut down the plant, you're able to stay safely here, and you can still play this corner. If you reinforce this off, now you're kind of in a box, you're not being as effective, but you can still play behind this minibar really well, and even tuck up to hold this doorway, which is nice. And that's the nice part about having this reinforced. And then of course they can't get here and pin down your teammates or kill you on minibar, where you're technically completely exposed to a guy on the corner. Next up, we're gonna make some head holes here. This just allows us to vault up on top of this desk and hold this window. So if our breach never gets open, very, very powerful line of sight. Also good if you're playing T and roaming over here. So there you go, you got a nice line of sight. Be careful. People usually are ready for this, but when they're hopping in this window, they're exposed to that, they're exposed to this, they're exposed to a swing here. So you have a good chance of winning that fight. Reinforce the second wall in, and then you want to make a rotate. We haven't connected the bomb sites yet, so we got to make the rotate, right, gentlemen? So throw a rotate on here, reinforce the wall. This is just for once they get that main breach, we have a safe spot to play. You can do something like this. That way you can C4 over, smoke over, stop any plants, stop any pushes. So C4s are going to be really effective here too. You got your reinforcement. You got to be careful though, because they can obviously line this up from the breach. You can also even like vault up and hold stuff like this. This is also really good. Next, I mean, reinforce your outer walls. We already talked about this. Barbed wire on the stairs or whatever. You can play from here too. If they're not taking the staircase, look at this. You got some nice angles into sight. You can hold any pushes through from here too if they're trying to come in through the window. But your big weakness now is this dragon side. So if you set up dragon, it's not a bad idea to make a rotate into here. Play a reinforcement. Now, if nobody's going to play over here, just reinforce the walls. Right? right? That's the condition, because if you give the other team a rotate, this is just giving them lines of sight that they can just take for free. But if you reinforce this, you're able to at least hold dragon and then fall off and then play this reinforcement as cover. The other thing you can do is open up this wall, which allows you to get crossfires onto terrace, stops them from taking this super easily, and then reinforce these off as well. You can do this, and you can reinforce this, but then, again, they can use the long lines of sight. This is really only good if you have a Mira, and even then it's a little risky. Just reinforce these. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier. So you got your main walls, you got this, you got these, you got your outer wall, a little bit of line of sight, a little bit of rotate, and then this is where you want to use your traps, and you can hold these choke points. Castle's really good on these. You can even do the exact same thing we talked about on the other site, where you make the footholds in this wall, so if they do try to come geisha, you got them. But honestly, a reinforcement here is a great play, because it allows you to actually play drum and hold this space a lot longer, and forces them to actually hard breach open. So if they don't have those holes, you can actually play from here in drum and hold these doorways, or even hold like the far side push. You know, you got a pipe there, cap can next to that pipe goes hard. You know, maybe you're a Rooney, you got a better gun, or you got a shield, or your Denari, or whatever, and you got a nice little setup, and then you can fall off, give up the space, and then they're pushing into the rest of your setup, and now you're over here, and they're hitting this stupid thing, and you're killing them again, and you're killing everyone, and you're winning the game, and it's awesome. Our last bomb site of the video is Barbecue Kitchen. Barbecue chips reign supreme over the master bedroom. It's just a better site, arguably. You want to make them rotate, guys, believe it or not. I mean, we've done, what, 17 maps, 3 bomb sites a map, almost 60 bomb site setups in this video. We should know that we want to connect the bomb sites outside of that one site. You can also make it rotate over here if you really want. It doesn't really matter. You know, you're making ways to get through the sites. Reinforce these black walls is a great option. You can also do just the corner wall and put footholds here so you can watch the push through if they do take black. The only downside to this, which you got to be careful for, think from the attacker's perspective. What can they do? They can shoot through this wall from black stairs if you leave it soft, or ash or whatever. Now they can just hold your site door. They can hold your crosses. They can hold some powerful angles. So reinforcing both of these is usually the better option. But think for yourself. I mean, sometimes we got to adapt. We got to adjust. We got to, you know, play into what we think is best for our team. Reinforce both the kitchen walls, reinforce the hatch. Unless you're going to play up in geisha, you want to make sure that hatch is reinforced. A rotate here is also super strong. Now, it looks kind of dumb at first because you're like, wait, what? They can just like walk in here and hold it and kill you, which I agree. But if you're playing this extended and you're holding this space, they can't really take this. So you kind of set up over here as well. And the way you do that is you reinforce this wall so they can't get the long line of sight all the way through the bomb site again. You place some barbed wire here. You have a guy playing over here, and you're basically stopping them from taking this in the first place. You got a lot of cover. You can use your utility from here to, you know, stall them on the staircases. And if you have a guy playing here safely, you're in a really good spot. You know, you can even get aggressive on this window if they start hopping in or whatever. You can even peek the rappels on the far side of the map. So if, you know, this is a great spawn peek as a roamer. They rappel up to the balcony. You got an easy kill on a guy over here. This is a good spot to play, especially for this bomb site. You just got to be careful of these top brown stairs. So this is your like first floor setup, I would say. Maybe a barricade here, some barbed wire, some info so they don't sneak through, and then same thing over there. Now you go above. Wait, we forgot about this rotate. What about this rotate? What's this for? Well, this is for if they're trying to take delivery. So if they're trying to take direct across, now when they push through here, they have to worry about this rotate, and they can't just walk into the site door. So they can technically walk through here, but you have all these control in all these different angles. You have control from behind the mini bar, which is also really good. You know, you can hold it like this. But later in the game, later in the round, a lot of the time this rotate is just super impactful for defenders to get to where they need to be to take the fight so they're not trapped in one spot, especially because this hatch creates so much control. So if you want to hold above, a couple ways to do it. Reinforce the hatch, reinforce the wall, same footholds, same idea as before. We can hold it from drum and contest them actually taking the space. You can even open up all of this. Now this is getting kind of crazy, but it can work. You open up all these walls, you know, and then you basically stop them from being safe to work vertical. If they want to open the hatch and work this, they have to clear out everything over here first, right? You know, especially if you do something like this. And now they're just kind of freaking out if they're playing in there. There's nowhere safe to play to actually work the floor successfully. And you could be back here with the Aruni DMR, just locking that puppy down. And if they drone you out, you got a ton of cover. You can move a little bit, pick a new spot, whatever. There's a lot of great ways to roam on this map. In general, it's like you can just hold the entire map and be super, super successful. And realistically, people aren't going to work vertical that well. So just going for the first floor hold and then having like a roamer on the east side because this guy can just do everything himself over over here. Why? Because he's running out the balcony with a thorn trap on it and pre-firing people. He's also got a thorn trap for the window hopping and the stairs walk up and a thorn trap on the window, and there's no other places they can enter from, and it's so annoying because this map sucks to attack. But anyway, guys, that's how to set up every single bomb site in Rainbow Six in Ranked. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and go check out my games channel where I play games every single day and put these setups into action. All right. Thank you for watching. Peace out, guys.